I'm looking for the countdown button. You think by now I'd find the countdown button? I would just click on said countdown button.
As I suspected, 32 flavors.
Try the sauce. I'm soaked in it.
Oh, I could lick you all day long.
And yet,
No, I don't hate Balboa, but I pity the fool, and I will destroy any man who tries to take what I got.
What? We're live. How's it going, everyone? And yes, I did do that test on purpose. How you doing, everyone? Toxic Tuesday is here. And what the fuck, guys? It is the 55th episode. I know I did that lot. I know, but I really had to. What's up, Gonzalo Bagali, Bush McFadden, Tabletop Junkie, D-Bud 1A, D-Bud not gonna be around time. All good, bud. Eric K, the wrench of all wrenches. How you doing? I see Joe's Atmosphere, the lovely Sherry. Hello to you. Brian Barth, what's up? Magic Poop. Yes, we will be talking about that, Brian Barth. Thank you guys for being here early, especially for a little bit of a lesser known flick. This one seems to be not like obviously like an indie flick over the radar, or as like that 70s rock fan likes to say, underlooked, because I feel like it's underlooked, not overlooked. When he started saying that word placement, it really made the brain think, and it's kind of been what I've been using since. I see Dr. Dragon, how you doing? But I can't wait to talk about this movie because it's just so weird that like so many people have not even heard of this. So it's crazy shit. But no matter. Let's bring in our panelists here. We'll start off with the man who keeps the visuals going, Mark D with a C.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Hey, thank you for that intro. Yep, appreciate it. Yeah, hopefully everyone had a great Labor Day. I had a pretty massive barbecue that I helped to run. I don't know if you saw my Twitter pictures, but too bad yeah. So we did a whole pig. We did like 50 pounds of pulled pork, 18 racks of ribs. I have some leftovers, but yeah, it almost all went. So check out my Twitter feed if you want to see some fun barbecue pictures.
You want to see it, Mark? Yeah. I'm glad you had a great Labor Day. It's freaking awesome, and it's nice to now get back on the grind.
Yeah.
I'm glad to have you here.
Good to be toxic again.
Yeah, we get to be toxic again. You hit 50 episodes last week with Sunday Night Geekery, so you're climbing up the ladder, man.
Yeah,
you're moving up. I'm liking
moving on up.
I see the Mark D with the C like Frog. I'm like, hey, I'm down here. Come on, Mark, do it.
Do it. You can do it. You can do it.
You can do it. Come on. So seriously, good to have you here, man. I'm looking forward to hearing your takes because I think that if I recall, you said you never had seen this before.
I've never seen this movie. Yeah, I don't know. I'm getting old. I don't remember it, but
very deeply honest take with this one, you guys. Yeah. He's gonna have a very it might even be some rough, brutal honesty. We're gonna see, but good. No, awesome. I'm looking for it. We could use a bit of I guess you could say a normie-based take on this. So
yeah,
I know there's names you recognize, but you don't recognize the movie and the history that comes with it. So I'm looking forward to it.
Good to watch something new. Yeah,
that's right. Oh, Vince Womack, I see you, Massgrave. How you doing? Let's bring in our other panelists and the man who may or may not be out here, all in a flash. Gerry of the Pop Culture Minefield.
I want to thank you and the Academy. Yeah, I've got shitty internet tonight, so if I just bloop out, I probably won't be back because the internet's just garbage right now. Getting it fixed, it's going to take till the 14th and when they finally come here to fix it. But I love hanging out with you guys. It's so awesome. And this is in spite of Mark D with the C being here.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, wait.
You know
can I come?
I
you
wish
got the
you lived
Academy
closer
Award.
to
Can
me.
I slap? I can't slap you right now, right? For that.
No, you can't. But I would fucking be at your house like every weekend if you live close to me. I'm dead serious. You do such cool shit. And I love your toys. I'd be at your house probably playing with shit in your living room. It's okay. I opened this, right?
Yeah. No, wait. Don't break that. Wait, that's not meant to be played with anymore.
Gerry,
70 years old.
Gerry, get your hands off those toys.
Get your hands off my toys.
And of course, his wife runs in it going, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought something else was going on."
Or she'd be like, "Take all this shit out of here. Get rid of it.
Take it, Gerry. Take it.
Take it. Take it.
Take it all. Come on.
But it's
Come
good to be here.
on,
Thanks,
Gerry.
guys, man. I love you guys.
No, dude, I love you, man. Seriously, though, I know, obviously, despite the crazy, batshit crazy 20,000-year-old internet connection, you're persevering. You're being here for the people, and that's what matters here. You're being
It is a great
and
film.
brave. You're
This
being
was-
stunning and brave.
This was the
Unlike
first
Captain
movie
Marvel.
he did where he went back and borrowed from something else he did. And he uses the Ennis Brown house in this film, which was used in Blade Runner.
Yes.
And so you see those
there's some
same
parallels.
tiles.
There's some parallels.
There are plot parallels. There really are.
We'll get there. We will cross that bridge. And before bringing
When
our
we
boys,
get
I
there.
want to say hello to Andre, Enrico, Das Wolfen. How are you? How are you?
Hi,
Thank you
John.
for dropping on all up in here. Let's bring in a guest to the show. You guys may have seen him on the Midnight's Edge live streams. He moderates a lot. You know, he keeps the chat in line a little bit. Mr. Steven of the Deleted Scenes. How are you, sir? Welcome to Toxic Tuesday. I feel like I've had you on once before, so it's good to have you face and all.
Yeah, you're muted, buddy.
Mic is off.
Yeah, he's like me, a boomer. He doesn't know how to work this shit.
It's okay.
No, that was part of. No, we planned that. Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
your
you-
microphone muted? Actual microphone. Because I pointed this out earlier when he tried to talk to me. He tried to say something.
You
Yeah,
want
we
to
can't hear you.
come out and come in?
Yeah, you might need to leave and come back in.
Yeah. Go in and out.
Yeah, why don't you come out and then we'll
Then
slide
take
you
your
right
clothes off. It's important.
Yes, and then we can see all of you when you come back in. Everything about
And
that
Deleted
sounds
Scenes. Check
wrong.
your.
I'm just
under
telling you,
settings.
standing with your dick in the camera really fucking helps the show.
Don't do a Jeffrey Tubin on us. Yeah. But check your settings. Check your settings. See which mic is active too. Sometimes your mic.
Yeah.
You have the wrong mic.
Usually
yeah.
give you a test setting before you enter. Yes, that is what she said, and we're seeing it anyways. well, you're getting that sorted out. We'll welcome Mr. Dustin, aka Keto Simple Brutal. How are you, Dustin?
I'm wonderful, everybody.
How's your weekend?
Oh, so good, so good, so good.
I like it. Well, glad you had a good weekend. Glad you could be here, and it's nice to be talking about action movies again. It feels like the early days. I know, obviously, you were here, Mark were here for the I guess you could say the infantile stages of this show. So it's like we're coming back full circle for a few weeks.
I'm here for whatever we're talking about.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like when we started, this was all on action. So it's like now it's like a return to form is all I'm getting at. So
We had a lot of comedy.
you were there
lately,
then.
right? Yeah.
You were there then when we did that. So I'm ready to return to the roots, and let's welcome, of course, that 70s rock fan. How are you, sir?
Good evening, sir. I wish Gary had Steven's microphone. That's all I can say.
Ouch.
Hey man, you can't fucking bug me. I'm eating chili right now. I'm gonna
And
go.
Mark, so Mark, you told us about all the food you ate at the barbecue, but what about everybody else? Did they have food too?
I hope. Oh, yeah. I ate the whole pig all by myself. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, but
I've got matter eater lad powers. Yeah. So
it's great
Was
to be
Kwame
here.
here
and-
for that reference.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'd actually forgotten, and I'm a big Ridley Scott fan. I'd forgotten this was a Ridley Scott movie. It's so long since seen it. It's kind of like an underlooked one that just kind of slips in there.
See,
It's
guys,
almost like if
word
Tony
placement.
Scott had made Blade Runner, it would have looked like this. So, as Nick Conklin once said to Gary, one good hand job deserves another. So we should have that kind of night.
I love Nick Conklin, not only just because he shares my namesake, but it shows
Conklin.
you that Michael Douglas was not in enough action-based movies. Because, like, I remember, like, I known him for, like, I guess you could say the dramatics. Like, you know, when I was
Romancing
younger.
the Stone and Jewel in the Nile were a bit action oriented, though.
A bit, but
Action
this
comedy,
was like this is a full-on action movie. This is an action movie, and you know, I remember when I first saw it, I'm like, "Huh, this has like a I don't want to say a cyberpunk, but it's got that like weird like it's definitely got a look to the movie." I'm like, "Okay," and then of course I'm seeing like, "Whoa, there's like this whole Japanese thing going on." Okay, it's definitely got this almost, I guess you could say, neo-noir feel to the city and all that stuff. I'm like, okay, there's some deal going on here. And then, dude, come on, Michael Douglas with the perm. And that was a perm. That was a damn perm.
It was a
He
mullet
rocked a
perm.
damn good perm. They curled his hair for the role of Nick Conklin. Now, come on, you had the big aviators. You had the perm and the jacket.
He's had so much plastic surgery now. He looks younger now than he did then. He looked like 45 there or something in this movie. But anyway,
after watching this movie, you know, on and off over there, it's just like, why didn't he do more of these movies? Like, I'm not talking about like a follow up to Black Rain, but just more straight up action here, because it showed you like he had the chops. It wasn't just the Stallones, the Schwarzes, the Wilses. It's kind of like when I got surprised by, was it Patrick Swayze in Roadhouse? He showed you he could be an action hero too.
Yep.
And it's just like, we got these other guys who are kicking ass too.
But it's funny, Nick, because Mrs. Rockfan and I were watching it, and she didn't think he was particularly suited to it. So we were trying to think, if it hadn't been him, who would have played the role in that era in the 80s? So we had a long conversation about that.
Well,
I hear what you're saying.
Tom Berenger was somebody he used.
Yeah, Tom Berenger was, and someone to watch over me would have been quite good. I thought maybe Kurt Russell, if it was a lighter-hearted role, you know, a little bit less serious, because Michael Douglas was so intense in the first half of the movie. At least, you know, he lightened up a bit after Charlie died. But you know, in terms of he softened.
Way to spoil it.
Well, nobody knows who Charlie is, so what does it matter?
You'll know it the minute his name is said.
Well, everybody dies, Gary. Everybody dies.
Everybody dies.
Film,
Nobody makes it out alive. That's according to the Doors.
Like, it's a 40-year-old movie. I don't know if spoilers really matter that much. But
no,
anyway,
it doesn't. I'm just fucking with you. Nobody gets.
Stephen, can we hear you now, Stephen?
He's on mute now. There we go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Loud and clear, my friend. It's
okay,
nice
good,
to hear
good,
your
good.
voice. Welcome to Toxic Tuesday, sir.
I appreciate it. As everybody might remember, I was last on for Stripes, and I've been pretty much begging you every week to let me come back on ever since. And that's mainly because I love it when Gerry calls me a lesbian grandmother. So I look even more like a lesbian grandmother tonight because I'm on my phone.
He does with those glasses.
Okay, here's what happened. My Wi-Fi modem decided to resign its post yesterday afternoon. So I've been doing everything off my phone, and it's like having to relearn how to do this all over again. So if there's any hiccups,
and
just
here's something else you might not know. You can actually rotate your camera, so it's widescreen instead of vertical.
This is so boomer.
Yeah, I know. It's fun.
You mean you can? How do you do that? You
You have
actually
to film a fight
physically
for
turn the
World Star.
Yeah, you
phone?
just turn the camera.
Well, Gary, you have to have yours that way because your head's so big.
Oh,
Oh,
wow! Look
baby.
at that. Wow, go back.
Whoa.
Now what the fuck are you doing? Oh, okay,
There you go. Oh, no, that
What
was
the
it.
fuck are you doing?
Now we just got a ride
You gotta
going on.
leave it
Oh,
sideways.
well, we'll figure out camera issues before we carry on
It's
with
tough
this.
for
I'll
grandmothers to
acknowledge
figure out how to use phones.
Joe's Atmosphere for $2. Thank you, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
It's Michael Douglas. Therefore, ... It rocks. Thank you, Joe's Atmosphere. Hope you're doing well, sir. I'll tell you, I gotta get you on a Toxic Tuesday sometime. I would love to get you on, man. Shoot me a message and we can talk and actually have a conversation about that. All right. But yes, Michael Douglas. I know they had considered. I think they had considered Harrison Ford as someone who could, and it makes sense. Obviously, he already had a working relationship with Ridley Scott, and of course, we all know he's proven grounds. And obviously, I think what's her name, Joyce, who's in this movie. She was in what was it? What Indiana was it? Last Crusade.
Yes, the second
Yes,
one was
thank
it?
you.
Temple of
The
Doom.
middle one.
Was it Temple of Doom? Okay, Temple of Doom.
Mrs. Steven
So-
Spielberg.
So
Mrs. Steven Spielberg.
you could see the connections. They're all there. Like I could see why they could have gone, but I'm so happy that we got to see Douglas be the man, be this police officer who's not just it's not your average buddy cop or one like you have some of the tropes. One guy's seasoned, the other guy's the younger, and he's more like I guess you could say optimistic, and the older one's a little bit more belligerent, and he's filled with rage and bitterness over the years. But this one I like because he's a divorcee, and he's still a good man at the heart of it all. But when you're in New York, I can imagine that town, like he says in the movie, the whole thing is one big gray area. So it's a messy situation overall, and obviously it leads to this whole situation he gets into the movie. You're like, okay, some serious shit is about to go down, and it's nice because you get the whole clash. It kind of reminds me also of Red Heat in the sense where you get to learn the American or Russian, because Arnold was a Russian, and so we get American ways versus the Japanese ways. And I thought that was a nice way of saying the base of operations from country to country. And I love seeing that dynamic play out. And they had a big star playing the character of Masahiro by Ten Takakura. And I was like, and he was a big deal at the time. He was a huge, huge is in the chat one for Ken Takakura. Huge. I love the opening credits too. I love like the dark red. It kind of reminds you almost like a Bond type of credit. And Gerry,
Michael Douglas put up some cash for this.
Sorry, sir. I see you're telling me in the private chat, dude. If you can come back, you can come anytime you want.
I can come anytime I want. Thank you.
No, do not come.
Uh-oh.
I'm just telling you, if I blip out, it's the internet. I apologize.
Nothing personal, yeah.
Yes, and everyone agrees it's all huge here if he comes. So we
Huge.
agree. If you
Huge.
come, it's gonna be huge. So, anyways, yeah, I like the credit. It's got the Bond thing going on. And come on, what an opening! Come on, this is so.
That's the World's
deep.
Fair in New York City too. That's the I drive by that all the time. If you're going to, well, now it's Shea, not Shea Stadium anymore, but City Field. Yep. So that's an iconic New York location there.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a badass opening too with Douglas on the Harley, and no helmet, of course, but yeah.
They gotta get the hair too. It's about the perm, man. Think about the money though spent on the perm. That's why they did it.
It's a free blow dry.
Wear his helmet.
He didn't need a blow dryer for his hair. Just got in the bike.
Well, with the curling and everything going on, they gotta give it that bushy look. Like, okay, he's got kind of long hair, kind of not. That's what they're doing here.
You're like big worm. I mean, big perm. I mean,
so you got the blink and you miss it. Luis Guzman coming up. Blink and you miss him.
Oh yes.
I wish he'd been in more of it. That would have been cool.
I know. I actually thought he was going to be the first time I ever saw him. I'm like, oh sweet, he's gonna be involved. I'm like, oh, that's weird. He just had that really, really minuscule part. Maybe like Ridley Scott owed him a favor, and this is like a compensation.
But
for
even
movies.
right out of the gate here, we were thinking, is this a Tony Scott movie or a Ridley Scott movie? I feel like this is Ridley being Tony. The music at the beginning, the bike guy in the bike. It's very Tony Scott.
And it's got Hans Zimmer doing the
Zimmer, yeah,
score and all that stuff.
This feels very Tony Scott in places. Like it's
You got
Ridley
Optimus-
Sandy's brother.
you got
I can do it. And
You
Jan
got
de Bont
Optimus
there.
Prime. You got Optimus Prime there too in the background.
Oh, you're
Optimus Prime. Yeah. There's a crossover movie for you. But
Right.
Jan de Bont
All
doing the cinematography, which is
we now have a theory. Transformers exists in the Black Rain universe. Black Rain universe
There we go.
expansion confirmed. And come on, we start out the movie with a badass super 80s style raise with the 80s music pumping and everything, big loud soundtrack, as if you're the one in the driver's
so
seat driving
80s.
with
Yeah.
Nick Conklin. It's so 80s. The movie is filled with like very 80s tropes. It's just how it goes about it is so fun. And I know it's a little early to say, but I feel like this movie, like, it is a very conventional format of how it lays everything out, but it's just how everything plays out makes it so forgivable in that regard because of the very super easy tropes that they're going by.
Yeah, but de Bont, the cinematographer, went on to do directed Speed and Minority Report and movies like that. So it's got a great. It spawned a few other action movies in that sense with Jan de Bont coming out of it. So it's
it's interesting. Like this movie, the plot, this whole story. This was originally supposed to be like the actual story for Beverly Hills Cop, I think 2, was it?
Oh,
Was it the
right.
first? Yeah. I'm like, bro, what? Like, I can't. I'm trying to even imagine that. And it's just because, like, when I think of Axel Foley, I don't see this.
Well, I could have
Like,
seen him as
Axel-
like the fish out of water stuff with the
Hmm.
going to Japan, but not in like a serious movie like this. Yeah,
Yeah,
They would have ma- yeah, may have-
he could
yeah.
fit in that regard. You're right in that.
but they'd
in
have to
that
change up the
part.
movie a lot.
But
Yeah,
he is a New York cop as well.
Yes. No. you're
So
right.
it could have been him back in his own, starting in his own habitat. You know, I mean, that might have worked.
Mhm. No.
and there's
you're-
other thing that's BS here too. I'm a motorcycle guy. There's no way the Harley's losing the Suzuki 1100 back then. It ain't happening. But
You know, just the Jap scrap of that's what he used to call Jap scrap years
or
ago.
rice rockets, yeah. But yeah, there's no way that's taking that Harley. I mean,
He's
and maybe
just
at
toying. He's toying with
I've
him.
known sorry.
Go ahead.
I've known a number of people. I've known a number of people through the years who are motorcycle enthusiasts who are picking various things out from this movie. Say, "Well, that's wrong," it doesn't sound like this, or So yeah, they fudged some of the they
Well, of
fudged some of the motorcycle stuff, but just a bit. But yeah, Hollywood. It
yeah,
doesn't
plus
hurt
the
the
Harley
movie in
looks
any way.
like a much cooler, badass bike too.
Mm.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
See,
Yeah.
Michael Douglas's character Conklin there can't be a real badass because he put a helmet on for the race. I mean, come on, what a wimp!
You know they did. You see that in movies. They do that so they didn't get a good stunt double.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's right, Dustin. Yeah,
They even sacrificed the damn perm for it.
yeah.
The damn perm got compromised for the race. Come on.
I'm assuming
Nick
that's what it
Conklin,
looks like
do
under
better.
the Brooklyn Bridge does look like that under there. Then I've been over it a few times. I've never looked under it. I guess
To
it
be
does
fair,
look pretty
this-
rough.
This probably looks pristine now at this time when this movie came out compared to whatever it is in 2022. This is probably considered like mint condition. I mean, I've never been to New York City, so I really couldn't tell you, but
no, it probably look like
Considering
that's probably
how
how it
movies
looks now.
are.
That's probably how it looks now, if not
Yeah.
worse. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's funny because like when you watch older movies and they take like, especially if I say like an older movie like Chicago, and I watch a movie that takes place, I guess you could say closer to present time Chicago, and you can maybe it's because I've lived in Chicago, but I always notice the difference. Maybe you guys would or would not, but being from that, I was just like, I see him like, oh wow, Chicago really did get that there. But you wouldn't notice that, because when you're living on the inside, it's another happening of the timing passing by the state. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe New York City looks exactly the same in this regard over here. I don't know, but I was just like, you're a fucking wacko. And he gets his money. He's got to pay it because he's a divorcee.
And naturally, he's got an apartment with just that view. Of all the people in New York, he has just that view.
Well, he's got to have that view. He's got to see everything goes on. Maybe he broods over the top of his building.
He must be earning a lot of money as a detective. Oh, wait a minute. He must be on a good wage as a detective. Yeah.
Well, child support, man. It can be expensive, man.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
So
he can't afford a car.
He can't.
His car has braces. You need braces for the car, and
he put his kids in private school. There goes the extra money. Extra money there.
But isn't it a detective? Doesn't he have like a detective car? Don't they get like a take-home car as a detective?
That's what I thought.
But we're trying to pop up Nick Conklin as a motorcycle badass. So we gotta do some adjustments per se for
you can only pick up one kid at a time.
Too. Say that again, Dustin.
You can only pick up one kid at a time too.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, it's your turn today. The other.
I saw that and I'm like, he only gets to take one kid. He has 3 kids. And he's taking one. The other 2 are like,
you're
right.
And he takes the same one every time. The others get.
You're old enough. The other 2, I can't risk that. I mean, whew. There's our friend here, guys.
I don't recall if Andy Garcia had done a lot before this. I'm not sure whether this was his first big movie or not. I can't remember.
As far as a big movie, I don't know, but and of course, once again, he's the stereotypical. He's the younger, less experienced, more happy-go-lucky cop of the 2. His Charlie Vincent character.
He's definitely got a different outlook on life. He's he'd done. Of course, he'd been in The Untouchables. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah,
I forgot about that. Yeah. So he wasn't an unknown.
That was a few years. That was a few years earlier, correct?
Stanley's Liver.
87.
Untouchables was a big hit, so he was well known. Yeah.
And he was of course, in Godfather 3 the year after this, where I believe he was Oscar nominated, if I remember correct.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So he was on a bit of a high. Well, there's our Leo from The West Wing.
Oh, that's where he's from. I was like, I know that actor somewhere.
Leo from The West. That's always Leo, I don't know. Right. John Spencer. I never think of his real name. I always think that's Leo.
Leo. Okay. Yeah, he's a great character actor. Yeah.
And there's a brief shot of Stephen Root as one of the 2 internal affairs cops.
Yes.
He's going on to do quite a lot of stuff.
Brian Bart, to answer your question, I don't know. I haven't recalled the last one I've seen someone watch over me, so I couldn't answer that question. But I will say for Phantom Outsider by Happy Go, yes, you got to remember, guys, they were doing the stereotypical trope. The happy cop versus the more grizzled, weathered. Definitely is a lot more has a knee-jerk reaction to things. Yeah, that's. Whether it's realistic to what is present in New York City, Chicago, that's neither here nor there. It's all about trying to have the contrast between the 2 cops. Like, think Tango and Cash. Think that.
Thing is that I found that his character here is extremely combative. I mean, he doesn't make any attempt to just kind of smooth things a little bit. He's right in their faces all the time. That can only work for so long. If you're under suspicion.
Oh, Nick?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a bit too combative.
A hothead. He's a hothead.
He's fighting everybody. Everyone's getting fought by him.
And you find out these guys are right later too. I mean, spoiler alert, but you find out they were skimming, to help pay.
Did they die too?
Pay their bills.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I found that actually that quite a good plot element. To be honest, I thought that really worked in this case. Nick isn't meant to be lily white. He has a moral code, but he's also a realist. Yeah,
he's like, we're stealing from the mafia, so who cares, right?
Yeah. This is a great scene, though.
Oh, I
Just
love.
because, especially as at this point, none of the Japanese is getting translated for us. I don't think.
I remember a lot of thinking, okay, whatever. If they're not showing the dog, that means they're playing that. I always planned it in my head as I remember what the subtext in my head was. Is okay. I don't know what they're saying, but it's sketchy. That's to me. It's
That's
bad
right.
things.
Yeah.
Just,
We're not
just
meant
insert
to
in your
know.
head bad things, sketchy things.
And
that was it.
Something that Ridley Scott was obviously aiming for here was to keep us in the dark as much as the detectives. And there's the cultural divide straight away. We can't speak Japanese, neither can they. We don't know what's going on here.
Oh, I got to ask my friend who speaks Japanese to watch the movie and translate for me. Yeah.
And
My subtitles didn't have any of the Japanese, unfortunately.
So he's saying, Michael Douglas, what a dick. So this was I didn't realize until recently that was Yusaka Matsuda that plays Sato.
Yes, Yusaka Matsuda.
That was his last movie.
Yep.
He was already dying of cancer, and he knew it, but he wanted to make the movie as a legacy, to leave behind a legacy.
It's really tragic because they all talked about working with him. Apparently, Michael Douglas was super bummed out because he said he was like the nicest guy to ever work with.
Yeah.
And then when you see him on set as Sato, and he's a super crazed villain, and he gives a great performance in this movie as well.
Oh, he's brilliant.
He really.
Although he does remind me of a Japanese MC Hammer at times when he's certain things that he wears and his haircut later. But
oh, dude, I love. He's got a badass. If you notice, too, he's a tall son of a bitch. This guy's a tower, man. He's a tower.
Imagine the career he could have had. What a shame.
I know, it makes me wonder because, like, you see him kill it as a bad guy in this movie. I'm thinking, man, you could have done many more movies as a bad villain. I could imagine if he was this good as a villain, he would have been a great hero for movies. Like, it's just it's so sad to think that his passing at the age of 40.
40, yeah.
He died at 40 years young. Not long after this movie. So, and once again, though, on the flip side, he went out in a damn good way on top. Because obviously this movie, like, historically wasn't the most successful, for those in the chat wondering, because this came out around like the late summer, early fall of '89, and it didn't necessarily bomb. It made its money back.
It made money.
Yeah, it made money, but I guess you could say maybe you could call it breaking even as far as 1989 standards. But its real success was with the following it gained over the years via loud disc and VHS, and of course the inevitable DVD, Blu-ray. It's gained. They love to call it the cult following.
Ridley Scott doesn't necessarily have a brilliant track record at making a lot of money all the time. He's very hit and miss commercially.
Yeah, but they're saying it made 134 million, so they're considering it a huge hit. So 30 million budget, so
40 of it was in the States. 40 something of it was in the States.
Worldwide, okay, worldwide.
So it had really good overseas showing. I guess. I guess if you called on the merits of overseas, I would call. I mean, in my opinion, I call the overseas
at the cinema in the UK when it came out. I went to see it. So it was popular.
Okay,
that's proof to me that you can't always go by box office. You know, how many great movies? How many movies have you had here on just on this show? Maybe didn't do the best in box office, but they're remembered all of these years later.
Yeah,
all right. Let's take for example The Thing. That movie flopped. The critics shredded it. But everybody
one of the greatest movies ever made.
Loves that.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't always go by box office. You know, if you go by box office, you're going to miss some hidden gems.
No,
you know what he finds when he gets in here? Sylvester Stallone's punching the shit out of a carcass of beef.
Dude, I thought about Rocky too. What are you gonna do for? What are you gonna? I'm trying to punch some meat here. I'm trying to beat the meat, and you won't even let me do that. You guys are such intruders. Mickey, get these guys out of here. Get these bums out of here. Get the fuck out of here. right now. What are you doing, Nick
Yeah.
Conklin? Get the fuck here. Sato, what the fuck is that? Get out of here.
Said the sushi. Sushi. We don't eat sushi here.
We eat meat.
Beef.
And we
Raw beef.
eat meat.
Hey, don't be clowning on raw beef. Shit's delicious.
Well, indeed.
I love beef.
Steak tartare time.
Steak
yep.
tartare, yeah.
And someone gets hit in the face with raw meat. So that makes the movie right there.
That's
Yeah.
right. Slapped in the face with a steak.
Get by meat is toxic man flu. He gets hit in the meat in the face by Mrs. Flu now on a nightly basis on Yelling at Park Hard. I don't know if Tox is out there listening, but I can confirm, and so can Mrs. Flu. I'm just saying, you hear some meat flying, you hear a shot to the face. You're like, oh, that was a meat facial. That was a meat facial. No, but I had a thought, and now my brain blanked out about that scene. Great.
Well, I was gonna say Douglas shows he's a pretty good fighter in this. You know, it's the character obviously, but he's he can hold his own in the scene.
The thing is, I guess you're supposed to assume that Sato is a martial arts guy, like all the Yakuzas would probably be to some extent. So to hold your own against those guys, you got to be pretty good. Because he's just a brawler. I mean, Douglas's character is a brawler, a puncher and a brawler. But
yeah.
And don't forget that this is kind of like a Rocky and Drago situation in the sense that Michael Douglas is a much smaller guy, whereas Sato, dude's he's kind of a giant, and he's got dare I say, he's got the reach around on him. So
all I can think is that
you kind of have a whooping on Douglas, like to a degree. Like seriously, Nick has to be extremely bad to be able to get around the big.
But I was thinking though, he must be wearing a cup throughout the entire movie because he keeps getting kicked in the groin by Sato, and it never seems to affect him.
Doesn't affect him. You're right. Yeah.
Multiple times he kicks him right in the groin.
Dude, I mean, balls made of steel,
we'd be out.
Balls made of steel.
Iron Balls McGinty. Iron Balls McGinty. Character in The Jerk. Steve Martin's The Jerk. Iron Balls McGinty.
Yes.
One thing I was wondering when I was watching this movie is, has anyone ever been inside like a police station and been back? Like, do they have locker rooms and all that shit at a police station, like the detectives and everything? Because every single movie always shows that. I'm like, is that real? And
then the room they're watching in there, it's all grubby with shit thrown in there, and there's crap up in the walls about stuff they're supposed to do. And it looks. This is what they always portray them as looking like. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the cops are coming in and they got to change. They got to change to go out for the job. So, yeah, they have locker room showers.
What movie was it? Red Heat. They showed it. Red Heat. They did. I think Beverly Hills Cop as well. I think, but definitely RoboCop and Red Heat.
But this looks particularly New York like. I mean, they see all New York cop shows. They always look like this. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that must be based upon some, something real. They all probably do look like that. Mark would know because you've been in many cop stations over the years.
Yeah, I've been arrested many a time. Yeah, no, yeah, they do have. They do have. Yeah, I mean, or like if you're working, the overnight shift, or they got to have accommodations. It's kind of like a firehouse in some, in some ways. Yeah.
Actually, I know what it is. I know why Conklin doesn't fold up when he's kicked in the groin, because his wife's got his balls. His ex-wife has got the balls. She's got them.
She's got them by the balls.
She's got them in a box, a lockbox.
I like what Phantom Outside has to say. NYC cops can take a hit to the balls, and to be very fair, I mean, there's probably a sliver of truth in that statement, considering I can imagine being a New York cop. Let's just say, I'm not trying to do a cop, anti-cop, whatever. I'm just saying, no matter what, whether you're good cop or bad cop, you take some hits, and probably a lot of them to the balls. Just saying.
Yeah.
I can imagine that's probably, I don't want to say just an opinion, but I'm sure they go through some serious shit hitting the fan, whether it's deserved or not. And we welcome to the show our great moderator, the Just Another Red Shirt. How are you, sir? Welcome.
Thank you, Nick. Oh, yeah, I'm good. And
Hey, Richard.
hey there. Sorry I'm late, but
you're good,
getting
man.
to the good part of this. So I think my
Indeed.
timing.
You weren't
is
in a police
good.
station, were you?
No, I was not actually. I was in a restaurant.
But it's in Texas, so
Whoa.
there's just as many
What'd you
guns in
eat?
the restaurant as in the police station.
Actually, I'm not in Texas.
Oh,
Where you at?
Tell us more.
I'm in Virginia Beach, Virginia, right now.
Oh, I've been there.
Ooh,
Nice.
with the virgins. Okay.
The big statue of Medusa or whatever it is, not Medusa. Not Medusa. Sorry, the
Well,
Jason Momoa.
maybe Richard's like Chuck Norris. Once he visited the Virgin Islands, then he showed up, and now they're just called the islands.
That's right.
You know, I'm not trying to claim I'm prophetic, but the minute I saw this scene the first time 40 years ago, I thought, I bet those guys are fake.
Oh, really?
I'm not a prophetic. I'm not like, oh, I know everything about movies. It's just I was watching it, I thought,
Yeah.
I wonder what would happen if those guys weren't real.
I was just you kind of get to the point where you're like so jaded in movies. You're like, I don't know why they don't realize they're not real.
Yeah, because as he said later, I mean, it's in Japanese. What the fuck? Yeah,
I knew there was something up. Like when I first seen this, because obviously you gotta get the story moving. I knew there was something up. I just didn't know it was gonna be like this, where it turned out to be this whole like, holy shit, this is a big 180 from what I was expecting. But looking back, maybe I should have seen that coming. There are some parts I did see coming earlier on in my lifetime. But this wasn't one of them. I knew something was up, but just not to the extent of what this was. Because now they realize, holy crap, we set ourselves up in a shit show with all this shit. But this is where you start to see the cultures really start to collide between the American stuff and the Japanese culture. And actually, it was a point made for this movie that they actually do something different. Because this movie is not so far along after the Cold War. A lot of movies, when they had another country, the enemy's usually Russia. So it was actually like made to be a thing. Like, you know what? Let's shift away from doing all the Russia stuff, because they were starting to not as much be seen as the bad guys. So you do see a bit of a cultural shift cinematically around this time, and
also,
that's
Nick,
why they chose to focus on the Yakuza in Japan at the time, because Japan was having some issues, so they were focusing on that.
Well, also, Nick, at the time, the Japanese, their economy was flying at this time. And they were actually buying up they bought, Times Square. They were buying up most of New York. And there's a lot of, quote unquote, anti-Japanese sentiment at the time in terms of maybe some of the stuff you see towards China now, just draw parallels in terms of how their economy is growing. And then they even infer it here. They said, basically it's one of the lines that one of the Japanese characters said, you Americans are lazy. I can't remember which Yaku was.
Well, used to look up to you, but now you're all just,
now you're old and fat. And,
I think it was the inspector.
Yes.
Masahiro.
Thank you. Yeah, so there was a huge influx of Japanese people. Like in my town, they actually started a Japanese school in the 80s, and actually it was kind of, you would appreciate it too. There was we had a school fair, and then there were so many Japanese families there, which is great. So they all taught us how to make these Japanese noodles. So even 40 years later, they still make the recipe at the fair. So it was a huge influx of Japanese, and
there was that, Mark. What I found fascinating were some of the parallels that were the same, and I think the choice of Osaka was an interesting choice to base it in, because that's Japan's industrial hub. So you saw the scenes of it coming in. It looked great. It looked industrial, smoky. It looked like New Jersey and from the air, and the environs around New York. You get out in the streets in Osaka, and it's not all neon and glitz and fuzzy pop culture.
Blade Runner-esque.
Yeah, it's Blade Runner-esque. It's grey and gritty. The streets could look like New York. It was grey, and it was wet,
gloomy.
and it was dirty.
It's a fog.
Yeah, so
gloomy,
there was
foggy.
actually parallels between the two countries drawn in the cinematography here, I thought. I've got to listen to me, I sound deep.
You sound too
Oh,
deep.
dude.
Yeah.
That's what
Don't
she
get
said.
too deep.
Shit, don't go too
Well,
deep. Pull
and like
back,
around
pull
this
it.
time, there was the Michael Douglas movie Gung Ho, where Japan had taken over, or one of the they closed the factory, and then there was a whole movie about the Japanese culture versus. So there's a lot of stuff in the '80s going on. It's kind of funny to look back at it now because, well, unfortunately, Japan's economy kind of tanked for the next 20 years and ended up selling off a lot of the stuff. But it was fun to not
China.
fun, but you just read those to China, but you read all those articles back then. It was like the end of the world was near. But of course, they're invested in America, so.
But I really did like the
there's
setting of Osaka. It wasn't clean and nice and shiny like we think Japanese cities are. And it didn't have a great deal of old cultural stuff. It was gritty and industrial and dirty. It could be the same streets as New York at that time.
That's kind of
Yes,
impressive.
and it's not Tokyo, which is
That's
the
right.
city most people associate with Japan.
Yeah, it wasn't Tokyo. Good point, Richard. Yeah, it was the industrial part of Japan.
Yes.
And then
I was wondering as the movie was starting, like how filthy it was and how different I think Japan would probably look today, even in Osaka.
Well, probably a lot different. Yeah, I mean, a lot of that industrial have either gone or been cleaned up.
Because
But
I mean,
it
think of, at least I think of Japan as a very clean and tidy country because they got rid of like trash cans and people just carry their trash until they get home. They don't throw it on the ground. Like, there's a very like you care for your stuff vibe there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great use of cinematography. Great use of the cinematography to create a certain look of the city. I find.
Dude, look at that shot, Mars.
That's a great shot.
Good
yeah.
shot right there.
Elements of
That
Blade
was a
Runner
really
here,
good
though.
shot.
Obviously, there's
Yes.
Blade Runner elements too, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was
yeah.
cool. Sometimes you get lucky when you clip, but that was
That's
the
a
cool.
great
Dude,
shot,
The
yeah.
Coca-Cola
That's
sign
a
there and the
shot.
yeah.
I love that. That
What
you
is
just
that one next to
you
it?
just
It
capture
looked
the
like Freddie
environment.
Mercury, but I don't
Well,
think
it
it is. I
does,
think it's
doesn't
like-
it?
Let's,
Yeah. I wonder what it is.
looks like
It's like
is it something athletic though, or is the guy running?
Yeah, it might be
it could
around
be a
the
reference
Olympics.
to the Olympics because they were referencing the Olympics in this at some point, weren't they? No, I don't know. Maybe not.
Always Coca-Cola.
And I was
What
thinking,
that
Freddie
hell?
Mercury was still alive when this came out.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Huge. Freddie Mercury is huge.
Yeah.
I'm not joking, too. I'm not even joking. Like, it was kind of a big deal. But tell him 29, what's up, dude? Had a great comment. He said this was the part when he arrived in Japan, when he was fooled by the fake house of Japan. That was the best subversion of expectations. If that definitely fooled you, then yes, that is a good way of subverting expectations to Helm on that aspect. I would agree to that.
I want to follow up on 70's comment about choosing Osaka, setting it Osaka. The other one is the actor they cast as Masahiro. His name is Ken Takakura, and he was known for his stoic roles. His nickname was the Clint Eastwood of Japan.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a big deal.
Yes. So they chose their most hardcore, I can handle anybody actor to put up against these two New York detectives. So for the Japanese, this would be like if two Japanese detectives came to the United States and they had to face Harry Callahan.
Yes.
That's the scenario reversed.
Interesting.
He
And
passed
this
away
is
a
one of
few
my
years
favorite
ago,
quotes
too.
in the movie, so I paused.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
and then Garcia translates for him. Yeah.
Yes.
You guys
He likes a little
notice
foreplay.
with when Douglas speaks, like, because as someone who has seen the Ant-Man movies, listen to him speak that recently and then listen to him speak that, I feel like his voice has stayed at least 90% the same. And it's been 33 years. Holy crap.
Well, plus
So,
he had throat
33
cancer
years.
too. Did
I
he
have
have
to
throat
say-
cancer?
Yeah.
He died at the age of 83.
Geez, he
Takakura?
sounds exactly
Yeah,
the same.
he died at 83, which is like trips me out that he was that old.
Yeah. So this point is when Mrs. Rockfan says to me about Kate Capshaw, who's quite skinny, but with that fuzzy mop of hair. She said if you turned her upside down, she'd be a toilet brush.
I think the boobs are getting in the way, though.
The boobs might get in the way, but yeah.
They might get stuck, yeah.
And they're being tortured to within an inch of their lives there.
And that's Steven Spielberg's wife, for anyone
Yeah,
who...
Mrs. Spielberg.
That's Mrs. Spielberg, yeah.
Right.
That's how she got.
So
the
was she Mrs. Spielberg at the
roles.
time?
She was at the time, I think, yeah.
Okay, so that's why they. That's
Temple
why.
of Doom.
That's why her and what's his name didn't like get it on screen, I guess.
Yeah, I think that would be the nickname of her dress she's wearing there, Temple of Doom, because of the way it's shoving those boobs up.
The boobs were an extra, yeah. They got
They
paid
were.
extra.
They got paid.
I can imagine that had to be awkward for Steven Spielberg. Hey, Michael Douglas, I need you to bang my wife for this scene.
I got to be honest, though. I'm glad that they didn't try to shoehorn some kind of romance between them into the movie, because that ruined so many movies for me. You know, because I don't always buy it. And not to jump too far ahead, where their relationship ends at the end of the movie. That's a good place to end it. That kind of gives you the idea that there could be more later on. But you know, I like that this movie kind of, all right, we got a job to do. You know, mission first.
I was a little bit puzzled about why she chose fairly swiftly to side with him, though, and help him out, because she really had no reason to. Maybe she just didn't like these mob guys that were in the club all the time and just wanted to kind of stab back at them a little bit, because she had no real reason to feel sympathetic towards him and help him, but she did, or she does eventually.
You're right. She even says in the movie, like, I'm on my own side. So
Yeah.
she just pretty much just chose to help him out, just to help him out. Like, obviously, she's someone who's a big name. She runs that whole big old nightclub, so it's taking out the trash.
Yeah, and those guys would be she'd have to walk around those guys all the time because they were practically living in that club. So
yeah,
they were
she's a
threat to
figure
her.
of influence. That who you gotta look at is when you're a business runner like her. Who is gonna do better for your club when they're around, and who's gonna try to fuck shit up eventually? Well, the Yakuza will eventually try to do something because they feel like they are the all-powerful, almighty gang. And they can just do what they want because
they
they're
did
the
kill
mafia.
people in her club. Yeah, they killed people there. So yeah, that wasn't a good thing for her. Yeah.
So that's how I saw it. That's what I got from it. The takeaway from that, because to me, I was like, oh, here's her character development. She chose a side.
Yeah.
Well, there's some attraction there, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I think so. I think there was some.
But it's good. Yeah, Delita makes a good point. Yeah, they didn't like shoehorn a silly romance in there. Like, all of a sudden they kiss after 10 minutes and, they're a couple.
Yeah.
So there's like there's an attraction there.
There was no obligatory sex scene, which is normally a sex
I was waiting
scene.
for that.
Yeah.
But I didn't get any chance to, use Mad's face again. I was waiting for one. I'm like,
well, you could have put his face on her
show
boobs.
me the puppies, and then
you could have covered her boobs.
I mean, I could have done that for fun, I guess. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
but I do. There's no nudity, drat.
No.
I do agree with Steven in that regard because it always feels like sometimes it's so obligational. Like it's just like you have to have a romance, like, and there's obviously there's a time and a place for it, but it doesn't need to have a one size fits all thing. Like definitely do where it's right. And especially I feel like action movies, especially from the 80s, where it's all about the dude being the badass alpha male. They don't all need that, especially those. If anything, those could use less of it, if anything. Like I can definitely stand for more with the superhero movies. But as far as 80s action movies, like your Predators of the world, and obviously your Black Rains in this regard, I feel like just let there be action. If there needs to be one quick kiss, make out, cool, whatever. But let's get back on the action and the toxicity, because that's what we came for.
I always hated the trope that there had to be a romance in the movie, no matter what movie it was, and there had to be a one bedroom scene in a movie. It's not necessary in every movie. It doesn't need to be there, And yet for a long time that was the standard. We gotta have a romance. We gotta have a.
They don't need romance. They just need boobies. Okay.
Yeah, we need boobs, no romance, just boobs.
This is Toxic Tuesday, right? Yeah, we
That's
just
right.
need to see boobies.
Just cut the shit and give us the boobs. Yeah.
I don't need romance. I don't need you to like hold hands. Just boobs, and let's move on to the violence.
That's right. Yeah, and there we go. Let's go shoot people.
Hold up, Dustin's watching. Quick flash. All right, we got it. All right, carry on with the action now. Get the guns out. Let's do this.
Right.
Put those other guns away and let's get to the real guns here.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
That's a really good comment. So seriously, that was. Now, of course, this is where you see Masahiro. And you see, he's the cop that, even though despite him being obvious, I wouldn't say, he's obviously not Douglas's age, but he's definitely, you could tell he's a bit more of a seasoned cop. This is where the cultures come into play because he now realizes if I'm going to work with these American cops, that we got a whole different way of how we operate. And obviously you can debate on whether they have rules or not, because we hear the argument, there's rules here. And I've heard that before. It's just like, I'm sure Japanese has its level of corruption, but it's definitely nice to see the cultures clash and see what happens when they have different ways of how they handle business. And it's nice to see that clash. And Masahiro, I feel like he's another guy that definitely gives a great performance, but opposite Sato and Nick Conklin as well.
Yes. But right now, one of the things I noticed about this, and I'm not going to give a spoiler, but I'm going to say just right here, we're starting to see a culture clash, but we have Andy Garcia's character trying to be the diplomat. He's the one who translated, I usually get kissed first, and he translates that as, he likes foreplay. Okay.
That's right.
He's trying to pour oil on the waters. He's trying to tell his partner, come on, man, lighten up a little bit. And he's the man in the middle. And we're going to see that. We're going to see this whole dynamic change shortly. And this is when it really gets serious. When you talk about the culture clash.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that.
Well, indeed. There's also a culture clash between the two cops in a sense. Yeah.
Right.
One's older and grizzled and one's younger and a bit more forward looking. Yeah.
Yes.
Nicer.
And what I thought about
he's a very likable character. Andy Garcia's character is a very likable guy.
Yeah.
I just feel like these guys in their undies would Mad Mardigan and his handy Randy would have just been really touched by this. Like this would have been the scene.
This would be his favorite scene. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying this would have been his absolutely objectively favorite scene. He got two dudes or one of them in a Speedo. The other guy looks like he's just in his pants. Yeah, this is a Mad Mardigan scene, and Matt wouldn't headbutt him though. He'd be like, let me see what you got down there. Matt would go for he would cop a feel. He would cop a feel.
Or do you assume
right,
that they're
Matt?
sitting
Right,
around
Randy?
Are we assume they're sitting around naked because they're hot, or what? What was the purpose of them sitting around naked?
Well, you did see those giant fans in that room, which I've not seen those types of giant fans in years. Like, remember those things that are in rooms? Those super oversized fans. So obviously they had to been hot and sweaty for each other. Yeah, I think there's a few that remain in like the tunnels, the tunnel roads in Chicago. There's this popular street. Wait for it. It's called Wacker.
Upper Wacker or lower Wacker?
Yeah, lower Wacker.
Yeah. Yes, lower.
You're literally driving under the city.
So when you get lower on your whacker, you get sweaty down there. So they got fans to blow you off.
So if you want a good blowjob, go to Wacker, is what you're saying.
Yes, go to
chance of you
lower
got
whacker.
To the whacker. There's no blowjob coming.
If you do, you say I might get freaking like mad AIDS from going down to lower whacker. I'm not like, that's a shivery place. Well,
every time I've been down through there, it's always like you're trying to drive and you're trying not to hit like the steel girders and stuff and like
Yep.
Yeah.
At Chicago, not my kind of town anymore.
Lies.
I'm just saying.
Well, the one thing I thought was interesting too in this part was like, I mean, how's Conklin going to investigate? Like, he doesn't speak Japanese. He's a fish out of water. Doesn't know anyone. It's like, how is he actually going to investigate?
Yeah.
The, and get the bad guy, and this scene kind of does a lot, moving that forward, and they kind of say, hey, we got to go, help us
This
go.
is where his
take us here.
experience. It's where his experience on the street comes in, because he sees something they'll never see.
Yeah, and they weasel away into the crime scene, and they're even though they're supposed to be quote unquote observers, they take their guns away. Like, how's this going to work? So the script is really intelligent here, I think, too, in terms of showing how they can move the plot forward by using the Conklin's intelligence and being a seasoned detective versus just having everything thrown at him. You don't know where it's going to go next, which I thought was interesting with the movie. Although a couple of things were telegraphed, but this is a great scene where he's burning 100. You're like, what's he doing burning 100?
I know, right?
He just keeps eating his wontons there, whatever he's eating. It's like,
you're burning your buddy's food, man. What you doing right there? A guy's trying to eat, and here you are coming in. Okay, I'm just gonna set this. What's going on with this bill? It's a little suspicious looking, but let me set this shit on fire.
Let him finish the food first, right? I mean, then burn the bill.
Right? Imagine if you're eating a pizza, Mark, like a New Haven pizza, and then Nick here just says, "Hey,
that's war."
I know, right? As it should be.
Right?
It should be fucking war. Bro.
If it's a pineapple pizza, I guess that's okay, but
oh yeah, we can forget that little.
We could burn we should burn those, all of them.
On that.
Yeah. Oh. Boosh, I'm glad you mentioned this comment. This is a great segue into some history about this movie, because when this came out, you had the 90s version of the PC crowd talking about how this movie is very racist and very offensive for Japanese crowds. But the irony is this movie was nominated for Best Foreign Film in Japan, despite accusations of racism in the U.S. Like, this was actually a big deal movie in Japan, especially when you had Sato and you had Masahiro. Masahiro. Messing up names here. Sorry. But you have big names from the Japanese line. And also it seemed like it was predicting their culture accurately. So the Japanese crowd took very kindly to this movie.
Yeah.
And even though it was
number 5 in 1989 in their country.
As Bush points out, it's racist both ways. The Japanese say an awful lot of things about the gaijins, They have no respect, and anyone who's ever read any Japanese books by certain authors, they'll see there's plenty anti-Western stuff. But
absolutely.
It cuts both ways. Only people that get upset are those who want to get upset about those things.
Mm-hmm. No, but it just shows you, once again, that culture really embraced this movie. They didn't be like, oh, hey, there's this white Liu at the north. And on the flip side, if you look at from the American set lenses, you see that the guy who's acting up and being crazy and being erratic is the white guy. But we see the Japanese characters like Bahashiro, a guy who's got a lot more together, who's trying to do by the book. He's being a Commissioner Gordon. We're not saying, oh, hey, look, they took this non-white character and made him basically perfect, because he's not perfect either. He's just someone who's trying to do good. He's just not winning is all. He's trying to do good, but it ain't working out. So that's all that it is. And it shows you we can still root for Mahashiro and still enjoy Nick Conklin and his rabidness all simultaneously. And we got, of course, I love this scene. It's the last. This is almost a bit bittersweet for me. This scene. It's kind of somber
this
for
as
me.
well. I mean, my Mrs. Rockfan thinks it's the best scene in the movie. The music.
Oh,
number.
Really?
She loves it. Yeah, she thinks.
Is it because of Mahashiro's amazing dashing voice?
Yeah, but even Andy Garcia isn't really doing karaoke. He's actually singing. He's really giving it everything, and it's great. He's just, you can see the exuberance in the guy, and the fun in the guy, and it is bittersweet.
What's up, Klobby? I look forward to having you on next week for, we'll just say, that movie. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be huge. All right. It's gonna be awesome.
Making some good points in the chat, and it's if you read Shogun or books like that, the Japanese have a great history of looking down upon foreigners and even their own people. It's not, and I'm not knocking them for that. It's just the way it was and the way it is. It's you know, so to say that
there's
it's
still
all
almost,
one. Yeah, it's not one way.
I was gonna say there's also almost zero immigration to Japan. Their their
Well,
birth rate is stagnant. They're actually projected to lose people.
Well, that's because they're all worried about Michael Douglas racing around and possibly hitting them on a motorbike.
I think about like the whole idea, like their younger couples aren't getting together. Like women don't really like they're not looking to meet up with men, and men are like kind of going off and doing their own thing, and there's like cuddle, like you can go, like women will go and pay someone to cuddle them, but not have sex.
Yep.
Is
that called being
marriage?
married?
That's marriage.
It sounds like marriage to me. Yeah.
Not to get too dark,
quickly,
Stephen.
Not to get too dark. Sorry to interrupt. Not to get too dark, but I mean, the assassination of recent assassination of Shinzo Abe. This was a man who was telling Japanese men to unplug, go outside, touch some grass, and have sex with an actual woman. And they literally shot him for it.
Yeah. So is that why he was shot? Or was that like, is that something? I mean, it seems awful weird that they got shot for that. Like, it's like somebody built a gun and gave him to him and had him shoot that person.
I think it was generally just because he was a nationalist and he wasn't particularly a globalist, and his politics were always a bit like that. So it might not have been that one statement, Dustin, but I think it's just been he's one of the enemies of the globalists, and they want to try and break down Japanese culture. It's been an impervious wall to them because of the difficulties of immigrating into a country like Japan with very different language and customs. And they want that to change, but guys like him were resisting that. So,
well, I mean, even like going over to Japan, like they don't care if you understand their culture or not. They're going to get offended by whatever you do anyway. I mean, that's like what it seems like, whether or not that's 100% accurate, but that's kind of what it seems like. They're like very, very quick to be offended culture. But I haven't ever been. But
this is where I wish that we kind of had my father here for this chat, because he was in the Air Force. He was stationed in Okinawa for a number of years. So he was kind of like the Japan expert in the family. He came to just what little I know about that time period in his life. He really, I almost don't know how to say it. He got to the point to where he was able to fit in, and he was seen among the Japanese as being one of them. And I saw a picture of my dad once, and my dad very rarely took photographs. He didn't like to be photographed. Where he was invited to a wedding, a Japanese wedding, and to have a white man there, to be invited, that was a big deal.
Really?
Yeah. Because, as they say, as they use the term that they use in the film, the gaijin, you don't invite a gaijin. But they had sort of gotten this sense of my father being this sort of man that he was able to fit in with this culture and become,
like the way Charlie Vincent did. Charlie Vincent did his way into the culture. Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you do karaoke with Mahashiro as well? And they go, hey.
I don't know if he did all that.
But ultimately, despite the veneer of custom and cultural attitudes, people are still people.
Yeah.
And if you're good to people, they'll be good back to you. And I think that's a message that should be carried around the world. Unfortunately, there's people trying to divide us all by these things. But
I know, right?
Anyway, but yeah, Mark, were you going to read
The
that?
ladies were receptive to Charlie. The ladies love Charlie. I'm just saying they're getting pretty hot for him in that scene with the singing and all that. They like them, you know. You just gotta have the right personality to gravitate towards them. Before you know it, you got everyone's attention. He did that at a bar. Obviously, I know it's a movie, but still, he got everyone's attention. And I feel like that type of thing sometimes can be a way of just breaking the ice, translated anywhere. You just gotta really get people's attention and draw them to something like, hey, look, this guy isn't so bad, even though he don't look like me.
And of course, he's a big sex symbol at this time, Michael Douglas too. So, you know, after coming off, just winning didn't he win the Academy Award for
Wall Street?
Wall Street. So yeah, Gordon Gekko. So, but I found a good quote.
And best perm.
Let me just read.
Best
perm. Yeah, best perm. Yeah. So so he was being interviewed of the film, and Michael Douglas said, "It's hard to know who to root for in the film, and people here were uncomfortable with race stuff and talking about the bomb. There was a critic who remained nameless who called it a racist film. I called him up and asked, 'Have you ever been to Japan?' He said no, and I said, 'Well, what the hell are you talking about? The Japanese loved it. I loved it. I thought it rocked from top to bottom.'" So I mean, I didn't think I didn't even cross my mind in any way, shape, or form until I started, reading about the movie that anything would be considered offensive in this movie. I mean, you can't even show anything from a different culture.
You'd have to be offended on. It'd be people that would be offended on other people's behalf as usual. But
yeah, I didn't see anything in this that would ever, look anywhere out of place or anything. I guess some snowflakes got melted, but. Yeah, it's kind of a crazy.
That's actually a very common mistake. I'm not sure. Sometimes it's a mistake. Sometimes I think it's intentional. This is not a clash of races, and there's nothing racist in here. This is a clash of cultures.
Yes,
and this is two cultures that are talking past each other at first because they have almost no common ground. There are police officers, but a New York detective doesn't recognize an unarmed police officer as a police officer. A Japanese police officer thinks that American police officers with their guns are cowboys. And so even when they think they have the same idea, policemen, they don't. And you see it throughout this movie. And what's going to happen is they're going to have to move towards each other. The Americans are going to have to learn a little more about the Japanese. The Japanese are going to have to learn a little more about the Americans so that they can find some common ground and work together. So I think that any accusation of this as racist is ridiculous.
It's disingenuous at the very least. It's disingenuous. And to break away from that, because we got obviously a very pivotal moment in the movie. Yes. And also a very serious scene. I want to break the tension a little with something a little funny because Mass Grave says here, the last time I did karaoke, I had 3 girls come up and hit on me that night. Not the ones I wanted to hit on me, though.
Well, the problem there, Mass Grave, is you didn't drink enough alcohol. That was your problem.
That's right.
You might have thought
beer goggles. You needed to.
They would have looked great if you drank a few more.
And then Boosh says, Bill Murray, hi, Steve, it's Bill. I'm watching Michael Douglas nail your wife. Have a good night.
So the one thing about this section that bothered me a little bit was that Charlie, whilst he is young and somewhat, I guess, supposed to be a little bit naive, he really took the bait heavily here. In a way that I thought
and this is the scene I did see coming.
I thought, I'm sure a New York cop of his experience might have been a little bit more restrained, like baiting the guy on the bike and then chasing after the guy after they'd seen the bikers earlier bugging them as well.
Yeah.
I felt he just overreacted a little.
And don't leave your passport in your outer pocket, jacket pocket.
To me, I can't believe an experienced New York street cop like him would have been baited as easily. I understand why it's in here because of the plot. It had to be done. But I felt his character was treated a little naively there.
Yeah, I think it was a little too easy.
Yeah, it was a little too easy. Yeah.
I saw it coming. I mean, like I said, even though when I mentioned about the plane sequence earlier and realizing the whole setup around it, like I'm like sums up. I didn't know what this. I knew what was coming. I directly knew, and even though I knew shit was gonna get really real, seeing it actually happen, I'm like, man, damn, that sucks. You go there with your buddy. The guy's got a whole life ahead of him, and he just gets killed the shit out of him.
And we do see the true nature of this guy. Yeah.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
Sato.
Oh, yes.
What? Once again, I know I'm repeating, but God, I love his performance in this movie. This guy, and I know Douglas, like the crowd who love this movie, Douglas actually feels like this is one of his favorite movies he's ever worked on himself. So he was a big fan of this, like, and he loved working with the actor who was Sato as well, Yasuku Matsuda. He loved working with him. And Andy Masterson, what's up, dude? Says Michael Douglas say he worked on God's Way up to 125. Man, I still wonder if he even looked 110 in this movie. But
I don't have to work out.
I hear what you're saying.
Have to work out to do that. I can do that without working out.
And then Boosh says, dude, yes, don't you worry, it will happen eventually. Just stand by, it will happen. I'm trying to pace it out and plan out, but yes, the Untouchables will be a thing. I will have complaints, but I still love the movie, and we'll get there. But dude, when I saw him, I'm like, bro, but that's what I knew because like at the time.
Go back to that, Mark.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I just want to see that close up because obviously it flips by pretty quickly in the movie.
Oh, yeah, his head's getting
his head is off. Yeah.
Oh, his head's off. Yeah.
So they did do up a fake head.
Yeah, that is a fake.
They did do one up. I wasn't sure because you didn't see much close up after that. But
yeah, it wasn't too gory of a movie, I think.
No.
And I don't think it needed it either. But that was a good acting by Douglas there too. I don't understand how he got stuck though. I guess he went away where I'm like, why is he not right behind him? It's not like those guys brought down the gate. I guess he went the wrong way, or didn't follow him the exact same way. But it was a little convenient here that he got separated. But of course, if Douglas had been there, then maybe they both would have been killed in the end of the movie, I guess. So that kind of that did work. And you needed to have some kind of sacrifice. There's an external motivating force that had some morality behind it versus having to bring the bad guy in. So it didn't look, initially he's got to bring him in to show that he's not a dirty cop. That he didn't, because they say, "Oh, we think you were paid off," and you handed him over to the wrong, the fake cops.
You had to raise the emotional stakes. The emotional stakes had to be raised. Yeah, there was no emotional.
You had to make
stake
it personal. You had to make it personal, not just about the job and turning in the, for the law. You had to make
him
it
and
that,
for
okay.
Us.
Yeah. You can also give us extra connection with Nick because you had to make it a little bit more human because with all his like crazy, like manic ways, you got to give him something to us connecting because now you feel his loss. Now he's like, oh crap, my ways are, kind of coming back and biting me at the ass. Like I'm getting people like losing their jobs. I'm getting people kind of getting them killed. Like, so now you're seeing his everything is backfiring at him. So yeah, this is now where he gets his moment back. Okay, I need to step up my shit.
Yeah, it really hit hard that scene for the character.
Oh,
I thought it was a good. I kind of saw it coming once that like you said, Nick, once he grabbed the jacket, you're like, oh, he's gonna buy the farm here, so that was predictable. But I didn't see it coming up until that scene. So
it's still brutal to watch happen, even though I knew it was coming. Like it's kind of like one of those things, right? Because it's coming, it should be easier to handle. And somehow when it actually happens, it's not any easier. Like, oh, damn. I thought I'd be prepared for this on that emotional scale. Bro, no, they cut him up real good. And they did that. They probably thought that just in case someone thought this would be predictable, like, we'll slowly cut him up first just to make you feel that. Yeah. First thing that we're going to make you feel the emotions of the first thing that coming as the compensation.
Yeah, and this makes Nick a more sympathetic character at a stroke.
Yep.
So it transfers. First, we had our affection for his partner, played by Andy Garcia. I don't remember his name, but now
Charlie Vincent.
We've seen Nick's loss. Okay, now this gives Nick one, a stake in this, obviously a huge stake in this, but it also gives him a human side. We can sympathize with him a little bit because of this. So this like I said, this changes the dynamic, and now these two characters who previously had a character sort of mediating between them. You know, you had Charlie mediating between them and trying to pour oil on the water. He's gone. Now these two have got to deal with each other directly. And they have to figure out how to deal with this together. And they almost don't. They come very close to not ever finding common ground.
And this scene goes a long way towards that, and explains how he gets his gun back, and there's a nice touch here too. He says you take his badge, even though it's his partner. He gives him his badge.
Right.
So really, a lot of good emotion coming after that scene. They didn't just go right to the next action scene, or just go guns a blazing. So that had a nice character development there for both detectives there. I like that scene.
Masahiro,
yep.
Yeah.
So good.
I want to highlight the. Sorry, there's a bit of a delay. I want to highlight the previous scene. It's a very brief scene too, in the apartment between Nick and Joyce. Who isn't thinking of Deckard and Rachel at that point? Because that's when you start to go back to like the Blade Runner-esque look of this film. There are shots that are pulled directly out of Blade Runner, and because. To my way of thinking anyway, it's pulled directly out of Blade Runner, because you have Ridley Scott going back, as was said earlier, kind of going back and mining something that he had already done, but presenting it in a different way, in a different location. This isn't this science fiction world. Japan, particularly at that time, looked like Blade Runner looked. And it really shows through in this movie. It's like, to us, Blade Runner is in the future. At that point in time, the Japanese were living Blade Runner, and to see some of the images that relate, sound effects that are sprinkled throughout the movie that are the same. And like Blade Runner, it really pulls you in. I like the world building of this movie. Going back to what 70s said earlier, the fact that they picked Osaka instead of Tokyo, like most movies would. Because in having the Los Angeles that's depicted in Blade Runner and Osaka, it's very much a similar look. And I really like that. It really pulls you in and really pulls you into the movie. I enjoyed that quite a bit.
Yeah, you're right. And a couple of these scenes here could almost be Blade Runner. I mean, there was one a couple back that just like, yeah.
And then you have as the cinematographer Jan de Bont, who has this style of just picking the camera up and just. He's not afraid to move the camera. It's not static. In the way that you feel like you're constantly on the move. And when you're doing an action film such as this, I mean, it's not entirely an action film, but when you're doing a film such as this, you need that. You don't have time to, if you slow down during an action movie, you're toast, because people are just going to get bored. I love the pacing of this movie. It's I think it's like exactly 2 hours, maybe a minute or two over either way.
Don't include the credits. It's around 2 hours.
It's around 2 hours.
But with the credits, it's around like 2 hours and 5 minutes. And he did. And this son I didn't know deleted until later, much later, because I actually thought this is all he did for the longest time was this cut. But there was like about a, and we all know Ridley Scott. He's very notorious for his cuts for his movies, of how he likes to have hours and hours on end, like he's Zack Snyder, or maybe Zack Snyder guy from him. But that's the subject for Nerd Day. My point being
8
is
cuts of
this
Blade
movie was right. This movie, this you're right. This was perfect as it was, and I'm glad it wasn't the 2 hours and 40 minutes. Like I feel like this movie had what it needed within the 2 hours and 2 minutes. Like this movie really served, who the characters were, who their player, who's involved in the bigger picture from the supporting end, the environmental settings, the cultures, you get the everything. Yeah, it's great. I'm with you on that, buddy.
And another thing that I really like that I miss in movies today is quotable dialogue. He has the line earlier. You go to your partners before you go to the suits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's the line that I've used in real life, and I got it from this movie because I totally understand that mindset of you go to the people that you work with first before you go to the boss with something, and I like that, and the fact that a movie that's 30 some odd years old now or close has dialogue that sticks in your mind like that you use it on a daily basis. It really says something about the quality of the writing as well.
It says a lot about the quality, right? It says that, that our boy Nick here, he likes foreplay. We all remember that line.
Some good dialogue, you're right. Yeah.
Speaking for him. I remember when I first thought, like, okay, that is great. Yeah, no, I was just adding to your point there. Another great shot, Mark. Seriously. Yeah, you're right. It does capture that Blade Runner look and feel. Now, God, and then you got the badass shades.
Terminator.
Stereotypical
look.
80s aviator shades, the perm hair, the jacket, like the 80s personified in a look. That is for sure. At least by the American way of it.
Yep.
Oh my God. Oh, look. I like, no, seriously. This is where you see now, once again, now things are about to get really, really crazy. Hey, Rob Altus, I see you there in the chat.
Rob.
Yes, this was a great movie. And it still is to this day. And for every time it has something that's very obvious, it does something to counterbalance that. It always does. So because I think maybe they knew that, and it helps because Ridley Scott was in a slump, like cinematically at this point. So even though he didn't get the big box office bounce, at least stateside, at least the acclaim, like balance that out. That's too much info about Nick. Which Nick? I actually got confused by that. I'm like thinking, which one? It's hard to think at the time. This was the most expensive movie. Like when this came out, this was the biggest deal movie. Like as far as a budget, it was like well over 20 something million. I think maybe even like $30 million. And also, this is something I learned not so long ago either when I was doing my research on this. The crew, when they were shooting this movie, whenever they were doing the Japan stuff, they were so strict about filming in Japan that a guy would physically walk in front of the camera and would be like, "Bro, you're not allowed to film there." So if you weren't stopping, the little people who I'm guessing you could say work for the Japanese government, they would come in and interrupt your movie and just say you're done, even if you were like a minute over. Like freaking crazy. But I guess that's once again even outside of the cultural clashes within the movie, there's cultural clashes outside of the movie just by making it.
Well, Ridley Scott said he would never film in Japan again after this movie. So they had to finish. They had to finish some of the scenes back back in the U.S. So they didn't finish some of those.
Well, all the stuff in the end is all filmed in California.
Yeah, because they couldn't take all those restrictions. That's a clash of cultures there too. So and I was also
filming locations. It's mostly filmed in California.
Yeah.
And then one article I found too said some of the stuff he wanted to film in Tokyo, Osaka was actually more lenient towards filming, so they moved a lot of the stuff to Osaka because of the Tokyo permit situation. I guess
worked out better anyway. I think
it did work.
Much better. Yeah, more industrial.
I like when I'm thinking of like this, especially like when they show one of the earlier shots, and this one I think maybe either I missed or it was or just not part of the slideshow. I like seeing the invasion of Bud beer in Japan. I'm like,
I saw that.
You would think they'd stay away from that.
But I was expecting in this whole Steelworks thing was the Terminator to appear at some point. But,
where's Sarah Connor when you need her?
Where's Sarah Connor? Yeah.
The emphasis on red in these scenes. I love the color emphasis on red. It is. You're right. I can see where you get the Terminator comparison, but I just love the color emphasis here. I love these scenes where they have like a certain particular. I mean, obviously that's probably also added with the look of the environment there. But I feel like obviously with cinema you could definitely tweak it a little bit. Sorry, tweak it. Didn't mean to say
twerk it.
She-Hulk.
Were you watching She-Hulk all night? I heard Nick was rewinding that scene over and over and over. And I thought that was a fake news, but it must have been true then.
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I didn't even know who that stallion person was until
with the current economic and inflation wars. That's what your money's going to look like in a few months.
Oh, yes.
You'll be slicing your dollar. You'll be slicing your dollars in half to make them go further.
Oh, don't kick me, Bush.
Kick
Actually, I can't because I have the control.
We kick him out. It'll just go all night, even after the show's over.
In out. Are you saying in and out all night? Yeah.
It'll be an endless loop, and
endless loop, yep.
we can even just keep the stream going, and we can all just walk away from the tables and be like, all right, we'll just go let this go and watch. I'll do that, and all of a sudden, like super chats start flying for walking away, because that happened to Drunk 3PO once on his stream. I know he fell asleep. I think he thought that the camera was off. So he knocked out on his chair. I think that's what it was, if I remember correctly. He just got on his chair thinking that the stream was over, realizing that he still had the camera on. Yeah.
I think we've all done that.
Do you remember when Snowdub did when he it was like he just left it running all night? I think it was deliberate, but Puff, the puppet Puff, took an overdose, collapses on the screen, and that's it. He just leaves the stream running, and it's still running 12 hours later with the puppet lying there. And every so often another puppet would come up and look and then go away. But that was an all night. People were in the chat all night.
Just like they were for Tim Pool all night when he had that one time where they got swatted during the stream. They just kept it on. It was like 3.5 hours.
It's hilarious.
I know.
It's amazing that people will stay in chat all night even though nothing's happening.
Dude, 40,000 plus people stayed in the live chat room and were sending him money during that time period. I remember I was trying to keep track, and he made like $3 or $4 grand in super chats. Well, nothing was literally happening.
Well, think about like if you grew up like me in the AOL days, just think about how much time we spent in chat rooms with no video at all.
Just chatting, right? Yeah.
Just chatting.
Yeah. Just chatting. That's true. That's true. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Soul Assassin. Never forget 3PO's chair. So the chair made more money than I'm just waiting for it to happen to Nerdrotic. And he's had a couple close calls.
Because he's a boomer with the tech. Yeah.
You got to look at that picture I've just posted in the private chat, Nick.
All right.
When you get the chance, just take a quick
Magic
look.
Poop. Is this a Legion? Oh, dude. Oh, we gotta share this.
We gotta show that.
He just went total memers on.
I'll get it over. I'll get it over. Yep.
Yeah, there's no hurry, but good job.
Oh no, this is
We know we're getting famous.
Yeah. Awesome.
Nick, you look the part, Nick. You do look the part.
That's a giant trench coat, man. I look like
Yeah.
I'm in the Matrix. You know what? There's a little bit of a pre-Matrixy feel. Now I think about it. I'm just saying, like, Tom's in the back. There's like, you know, with the shades and the coat and the and the Neo feel going on. There's definitely a little bit. Maybe the Wachowskis really
Could
like
be.
Black Rain. I'm just saying. I can't
I'm
prove
sure they
it,
would.
but just something that feels like there's a little bit of an influence. Thank you, Magic Poop, for the meme, by the way.
Yeah,
that was
good work.
Freaking glorious. I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh no, you do. You don't mess with my pizza. You don't. But I this is now where everything's starting to ramp up here. Masahiro and him really realize they gotta come to grips with the shit and they gotta make shit happen. And you see the boss, he is no fan of our boy Nick. Nope. And Bush McFan here for $2. Thank you. Says the Yakuza aren't racist. No, you, Gaijin. And he came back in the room and bathroom with a bowl.
Yes, he did. I've heard that story. He sat and ate a whole bowl of ice cream while on camera, totally oblivious to the fact that he was still streaming.
Thank God that's all he was doing.
Yes.
Oh,
sure
that
it
is
happens.
hilarious. See, if I accidentally kept the
So he
stream
didn't pick his
going,
nose on stream, right? I guess, yeah.
You can hear people getting up and going to the bathroom in the bathroom, the toilet flushing. And it happens on streams, like Justin Proper did it once.
Well, that's remember when Zoom got popular when the vid first hit, and they had this clip of a poor lady. She was on a Zoom call, and she took her iPhone into the bathroom with a camera and audio on, and proceeds to go pee. And it's on. Then the moderators didn't know how to turn the camera off quick enough, and she was obviously mortified. It was like
we learned a lot from Naked Gun.
Yeah.
Oh, another great movie, freaking Naked. That was a fun one. Eric K, you guys are wrong. I love the twos pattern here. Eric K for $2. I've eaten pizza with Nick. You have eaten pizza with me, and we will do it again. And hopefully you will come and we'll do it again. I just
and there was enough pizza
Eric.
for Eric to eat. You didn't eat it all. I mean, you shared your pizza. Wow.
We shared pizza together. Me and Eric.
They shared a lot. I'm sure, Mark. They shared a lot of things.
And it's almost been 10 years since we've had pizza together, Nick.
We had it at their Ghost in 2013.
It was like 2013 or 2012.
It was 13 because I remember it was at that really nice Turner Hall in Milwaukee. Because I was like, "Holy crap! There's a nice part of Milwaukee that exists." And it was nice to see a clean part of Milwaukee because that area was insanely clean. And that venue was really nice, Turner Hall. I remember really liking that venue. So, yeah, we went and got pizza after that.
Yeah, we went and got a pizza that was like that by the slice place.
Yes.
Whatever it was called, yeah.
We were so used to shows where it was at the rave, and the rave is a total dump across the street from Dahmer's Hotel and all that jazz. And you got the haunted pool at the rave, all that, history behind it. So it was nice to see a really, really, really nice part of Milwaukee. And it was easy on the parking too, which is nice. So. Guys, if I ever forget to end a stream, all you're going to get here is a wall. And maybe you might hear my chinchilla at night jumping around in this cage. He does. The chinchillas are very nocturnal. So they tend to go crazy at night, and you'll just hear him jumping around. Maybe you'll hear him eat, snack on some things. Or maybe you won't because he's such a quiet little creature. But, yeah.
Why don't you have a chinchilla cam? Just leave it running the whole night.
And leave a microphone on, speaker on so we can talk to him.
Yeah.
His name is Odin, by the way. That's his name.
Would you like to pet my chinchilla?
Chinchilla.
He was on one stream before, Bounty in the Comics Black Pill stream. He did show up for that one. That the crazy little chinch. But anyways, back to the Black Rain. I've been talking a lot, so I'll let someone else have it with this movie as we get a very touching scene here of Masahiro and Nick and the unveiling of the sun and all. And no one.
And no one. Someone will take it.
Hey, you got a good, totally off topic. I got a good joke for you. What's the difference between California and the Titanic? The Titanic had its lights on when it sank.
I was thinking, like, so in the spot where we were talking about, like, you know, when we were at the end of the stream last week and we were talking about this movie, and I asked, are we doing the movie called, you know, the Michael Douglas Black Rain, or are we doing the other movie called Black? I think it's like maybe a documentary about Black Rain. It's about the atomic bomb. And they mentioned that when he's talking to that old gangster, the old Yakuza guy, talking about the Black Rain. They were in hiding for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
He brings it up, doesn't he?
Yeah, he brings up the Black Rain. And like, if you get into like what that was in those two spots in Japan where they dropped the bomb, like it literally rained black goo and was burning people.
Yeah.
Like how brutal it was.
Yep.
So that's why it was kind of fitting that they called this movie Black Rain.
Was that brutal or brutal?
Brutal, dude.
Dustin brings up a great point. It just, once again, it shows you like for every, once again, it's with the counterbalance, like for every little, you know, convenience they had 10 other things that really made it really, really well thought out. I remember when I heard the sound, I don't know why, but I called it the golf fap sound. Don't ask why. I just, it's a, I'm like, it's a golf fap. I don't know why. Yeah, that was another title, Masquerade. Yeah, Chocolate Rain. I think Boosh may have said that earlier in the chat, but yes, Chocolate Rain was definitely a title I thought about for a long time too.
And I was thinking, so that
Chocolate
scene
Rain.
there with the golfing, like the 3-story golf places, I don't think we had those in the United States at the time of this movie came out. And maybe this is in California, I don't know, but
no,
I mean, I never saw them here in the Midwest.
This is very typically Japan because Japan is so densely populated. The land required to have a golf course is incredibly valuable. Right. And back in the 90s, when I was still playing golf, I talked with a Japanese golfer who had come to the United States for a golf vacation. I said, why would you travel all the way to the United States just to play golf? He said, because in Japan, you have to be a member in order to get a tee time. And the cheapest club in Japan costs over $1 million to become a member. So the vast majority of the Japanese do all of their golfing at driving ranges, which is why they need a triple-decker driving range.
And I was thinking, because now, like, we have 2 in our central Indiana area now. Like, there maybe 3, maybe, I don't know how many we have, but we've got those Top Golf things now that look just like it.
All right.
I've never been.
I want no, all good. No, all good to derail. It's good derail, but I want to bring up some we somehow have not brought up about this movie much. I think we brought up his name once, but didn't go too far in. Hans Zimmer. This movie was, as far as like composers, was very influential for the market for people who got very influenced by Hans Zimmer. Regardless of how you feel about his scores, most of his scores since then, this movie was a huge deal for many who got into, being a composer. This movie was a big deal for people, dude, to say, hey, this is my gateway to Zimmer, whether I was becoming a fan or becoming influenced by his body of work. This movie was big in that front. And the funny part is the producer hated the score. And he was very vocal about that to Zimmer. He hated it. So imagine his reaction when he finds out. It kind of like when this score became such a big deal. It's like, hey, does anyone want to tell him? Does anyone want to tell him what happened with this? So music was very powerful in this movie. And between the Hans Zimmer score and the awesomely badass '80s soundtrack, dude. The soundtrack in this movie is absolutely rocking, and what big 80s sounds and all up front, and you can hear it. You want to rock with the movie. You get Greg Allman with his score, but you got Iggy Pop's song in there. Oh man, just awesome songs. Just all super 80s. There's even a Ryuichi Sakamoto. You had Jack Brooks as well. UB40, Ray Charles, just all this awesome music and great soundtrack, and something I definitely would like to own a piece of wax on one day, whether it's through the score or for the traditional songs. I definitely need me a Black Rain vinyl. Well, man can dream. When we came up, the city was gone. Then the heat brought rain. I remember Black Rain. Dun dun dun.
Yeah, I was wondering how they
He
would
said
tie
the
the title
movie's
to that.
title. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering how they would tie that, and it's a poignant scene. I mean, when you think of how Japan and the U.S. were enemies, obviously in World War II, and my uncle was actually stationed in Okinawa as well, and talked to him about it years later. So it was a little bit different, I think. Right after the war, of course, that you've got the U.S. as occupiers, but then we let we helped the Japanese write a new constitution. There's a lot of political stuff going on there, but it's such a different society and culture, and of course some people you could see where there's lingering potentially lingering hatred there, or anger towards the Americans, having lost the war, and of course they're talking about the bombing of the nuclear bombings there. But of course, the other thing too that people overlook is, not I should say overlook, but when you firebomb Tokyo and all the bombings, I mean, the same amount of people died, and 80 to 100,000 people in some of those bombings. It was just the horror of the nuclear bomb was one bomb that did all that damage, but we were endlessly bombing Japan, of course, to try to end the war.
Yes.
So that's a nice moment between the two characters there. Even years later, he's acknowledging he doesn't show outward hatred towards Conklin there. He's not. He's actually a very understanding character, and you can see the friendship growing there between them, and how they can overlook those those differences. It's not it's not a Conklin's not a one-dimensional action hero in the movie, which something I really like.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, once again, we're adding layers. It took one death to happen, and it was obviously very unfortunate with Charlie Vincent's character. And before you know it, they really expanded upon Nick Conklin's character tenfold. They really did, and this is obviously another one of those scenes that added to it, because he realizes now he has to get this job done, because otherwise,
shows you how he's changed, Nick. Sorry, Richard. No.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, this is what I was saying, that Nick and Nick has had to learn more understand the Japanese better. I wouldn't say that he and this Yakuza become in any way friendly.
No, I was mixing up my characters there.
Okay.
But yeah.
What I would say is that he figures out that he has leverage. He can get his man if he convinces the Yakuza that he can solve the Yakuza's problem. He says, I'm the solution to your problem. Why would we trust you? Because you have nothing to lose. And the Japanese gentleman thinks about it for a minute and realizes he's right. I have nothing to lose. This guy can do whatever he wants. It'll never be connected to me. Mm-hmm. And they give him one shotgun and 5 shells or 6 shells, and that's it.
Yeah, give him some extra bullets at least, right?
Yeah. So,
5 shots,
but Nick figures out enough that he can make his pitch, and it works.
Yeah, and what he doesn't do, Richard, is he doesn't snap back at the guy and start arguing about America versus Japan. He just takes what the guy says and doesn't answer it, and says, "But this is what I need your. I can help you. This is what I want." He doesn't say, "Oh, fuck you, America's great," or he may have said that at the beginning of the movie,
right?
But he doesn't know, because he realizes that's not important. What's important is he gets his guy.
Yeah, he realizes that it might make him feel better, but it won't get the job done.
Yeah, he doesn't care about that. He cares about getting his guy.
Yes.
and that's where he's grown.
He's being
He has grown.
humbled. He's
And
being
this is-
humbled per se. I want to mention a line that I forgot to mention earlier, and this is once again cultural clashes. But Masahiro was mentioning earlier. This is like, you Americans, you guys are nowadays all you're good at is music and movies. I thought that was such a that was another line that stood out for me with this movie.
Nick,
was
now
that
not
great
even
line.
that. Not even
Right.
that now, Nick.
Yeah.
Right.
Just
That's
movies or
gone
just
too.
music?
Now we want their culture. Nowadays we want
Yeah.
their culture.
Exactly.
Now their market, the East is, especially with obviously with the comic market, obviously you got the manga market is mega huge, and it's not just with the books. Because even though I'm not really super knowledgeable on the stories, I am knowledgeable about the market surrounding and the stories, and then the movies or the shows that are adaptations of those things. Those are huge as well, and people love both of them. You don't have like a big divide as much with like movie fans or book fans. Obviously you'll have loyalists obviously with the book any day, but it's not as divisive as per se the American West big two outlet.
Right. And we just talked about Nick changing his growing in his understanding. Masahiro here actually quotes him and says, "Sometimes you just have to go for it," because he's come to understand something about Nick.
Yep.
And he's like, I have nothing to lose now. They've suspended me. My career is over. My job is gone. And to a Japanese, losing your job and losing your career is something that sometimes makes people jump off of high buildings in Japan. And he decides, well, I can do this the Japanese way, and I've dishonored my family, or I can go Nick's way, and maybe I just have to go for it, and he does. So I think that was very cool. He becomes a different character right there in that scene in the woods.
And these are now. Oh, sorry, I was going to say this is California, Japan. That's a vineyard in California.
Yes.
Oh yeah. No, you're right. But man, this builds up for a great third act, because obviously it's like what's going to happen for the third act, but it's just so fun to get become a payback film, because it is definitely. Go ahead.
Is this Gavin Newsom's vineyard? Because that would be interesting. This is probably an ordinary day there. With the mob and everything.
Oh, what was the restaurant he went to? The White House? What was that called? Oh, the French Laundry.
French Laundry,
right? Yeah.
I couldn't tell. Yeah. All I know is
you can tell it's California because the lights are off.
Well, they can just wait a minute. They can plug in their electric cars to power their houses, right?
That's true. Reverse engineering. That's right. Yeah. And there's their wind farm right there. They got the wind farm there.
Yep.
Yeah, powered by
Solve
diesel.
everything.
Powering those windmills by diesel.
So how would you guys compare this movie like to Lethal Weapon, or I know we've done that as a Toxic Tuesday.
Yeah,
in terms of,
we should talk
like
about
a buddy cop film. Yeah.
I would say here's where I'll be quick. I say it's better than the Tango and Cashes of the world, but and I'd say even rivals Lethal Weapon 1, but I don't think it tops Lethal Weapon 2.
I think the movie this reminds me of the most is 48 Hours.
Ooh, and that's going to be another future Toxic Tuesday movie.
It's not as buddy as a Lethal Weapon.
Right.
This isn't a true buddy movie. It's not a buddy.
Yeah, I think it's missing the comedy element of most of those, though.
Well, it is. But what I was thinking of with 48 Hours is that in 48 Hours you have two guys that aren't both cops. One's a criminal and one's a cop, but one needs the other, and eventually they team up to do this. And that's you could almost describe this here is that, these two guys don't even relate to each other as cops at first, but eventually between them, they get the job done. Most of the others are just two guys who are really different type styles of cop, which I mean, this is because that's just cop. That's just difference in approach. This is difference in culture. So this is really, I think this is almost, I mean, I think what I'm saying is I think this is almost unique in the way it treats this to the partnership. This is a very odd partnership.
Yeah. And it's situational.
It's it's not meant to be just another two pair of guys who are opposites. We had to work together, not just because we work in the force guys. We had to work together because we're kind of in a position where we're forced to. And one guy's fired from his job, the other guy's stuck in another country. So yeah, I get that. I could see where you're coming from with that red shirt. And even Bush mentioned in the chat, yeah, it's definitely a bit of a different movie, not your typical buddy cop. So there's definitely different standards and stakes here at play. And Sato, man, with that the cutting of his, I'm like, this dude can't get any more extreme.
Brings a whole new meaning to the phrase "giving them the finger."
Oh no! I'm just like, damn, this guy continues to get more brutal. And the way he barely nudges after he does it, like it's just like it's almost like, yeah, it's only my second or third finger. I got this time,
it was
guys.
the least useful finger in his whole these two hands. They could have made him cut his thumb off. That would have been important, Useless gesture.
Badly possessed eyes. Seriously, like, man, what? Oh, jeez.
Oh, it's just stuck to the table.
I know. Those never get I could still feel the chills, like the shivers.
I think I would have been doing all that before I cut my finger off. I'm a coward, though. I would have said, let's just launch this ambush before I have to cut my finger off.
Well, my understanding is that the cutting off of the tip of the finger is a symbolic sacrifice.
Indeed.
To that you allows them to say, all right, you've sacrificed, you can be allowed in. You can be allowed back. You have made restitution. And it's very symbolic. And it's very Japanese as a way of doing it.
Is that like a form of reconciliation?
Yes,
per se. To
basically,
a degree?
yeah. It's instead of having to give the boss a lavish payment, let's say, the way maybe the Sicilians would do it. This is, you have to cost yourself something in order to balance the scales, and so that's my understanding of it.
What I'm wondering is, though, when I was watching this, is how come these cars are so easily blown up? I mean, these must be the most dangerous cars on earth to drive around.
Well, a lot of Mercedes, I guess, right?
That's right. Yeah. They blow up so easily.
The Japanese car would never blow up like that.
Right? With a 9mm round of an MP5.
Yeah, but they're not even being shot and they're blowing up. Some of them. They just blow up spontaneously.
See, it's an anti-German film.
That's right. They're just,
that's the 560 SEL. That's the most expensive car Mercedes had back then, too.
So, Michael, now we get where Michael Bay gets high off his explosions. He'd be like, man, look at them just blowing up cars that aren't even affected by it. Why don't I just do that? And so Michael Bay did. Everything just explodes around Mike. And the rest was history, per se.
They blow up a little bit too easily for my liking. But,
that's a movie. Everything's got to blow up easy.
For Red Shirt, for $5. Thank you, Eric. Says, Red Shirt, would you say then this is a precursor to Rush Hour and Shanghai series?
I haven't seen them, but it feels, again, Rush Hour, if I remember correctly, that's with Jackie Chan.
Toxic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. That would have had a lot more of a comedic element because Jackie Chan puts that in his martial arts movies. But that East meets West thing where, again, they're very different would be, they could mine some of the same differences in those. So yes, I could see that. You could say, hey, let's do a Japanese or a Chinese and an American cop, and then make it a comedy as opposed to an action movie or a comedic action movie. So actually, yeah, I think that's probably closer than something like the
All right. And then we got Toxic Man Flu for $20 says we made 70s off his hair to show his loyalty to Toxic Tuesday. Top and bottom.
Sacrifices had to be made. And I did that with an open razor.
Don't slip.
I did that with an open razor.
Wow,
Oh, that's what
that
happened.
was some serious shit. Thank you for the $20. That was. Oh,
He's a
you
good
guys.
lad. He's a good lad.
You guys are killing it with the super chats tonight. Thank you very much. Whew. Okay, my faces. TMF braided his butt crack hair evil. Yeah, that's probably true too. But anyways, let's finish off this movie because we get to this final fight between Nick and Sato, and it's another slugfest. And I love seeing the slugfest because now you get to see it's another chase before the slug. And bro, I felt the brutality. Yeah, right. It's so crazy. I think like all the people are talking about how he's such a like gentleman-like type of guy, and then you see him become this totally unleashed, like crazed villain. But once again, it just shows you the contrast of freaking actually being an actual actor. Just what a way to go. Seriously, like, and the fact that he was so low key about it, and this is a hell of a movie to go out on top on. Like, I'm always gonna be thankful for his performance in this movie. Like, freaking, he really took them to the absolute max till they had nothing left to be able to even get close to him. Like, that is how you do a villain. You really want to cut at their core and make them feel like they got nothing else. And it worked. It freaking worked. And funnily enough, as we're seeing here with the two duking it out, there was an alternate scene here where you're about to see what looks to be, let's just say, what's the word here? An impalement. And what he considers doing it, but there was an alternate scene where he actually did get impaled. So because you could tell he's conflicted between do I kill him or do I arrest him? But there was an alternate ending shot where he actually did impale, and it makes me. I always thought about it at the time, like, should he have done that? Should he not? And I'm personally, I'm glad. As cool as it would have been for the violence, as I love toxicity and violence. I'm glad he didn't kill him personally. I wanted to see him be brought to justice because for me, killing him would have been a bit of the easy way out. Because the bad guy wants to be put out of his misery. Once he knows he's cornered, they get wild like a rabid animal. Once they know they're cornered, that's where they start to do their worst shit yet. And that's what Sato did here. He was at his moment of desperation. And before you know it, once he couldn't do anymore, and he showed of a finger.
No finger. Yeah, no finger.
So he's a cornered animal, and that's where I feel like bringing him in is the right way to do. I mean, what do you guys think? For Mark, what do you
wonder,
think or Red Shirt? What do you think?
I wonder if it crosses Nick's mind when he's trying to decide, drop him on that spike or arrest him, that if he kills Sato here, he leaves his partner hanging out to dry. Masahiro's done if they don't bring this guy in. Yeah. That's Masahiro's charge. And that's what his boss expects him to do, or did expect him to do. So the only way for him to be able to get back into good graces of the Osaka Prefecture Police is to deliver this prisoner. So he, in this one, I mean, whether we know for a fact that the character Nick is thinking about, do I do what I want to do, or do I do what I'm supposed to do? And he knows, he once took the money, and he saw the disappointment on Masahiro's face, and Masahiro thought less of him for it. So this is a big decision, and they only spend a moment on it, and it's very dramatic because there's the camera switching back between the two men's faces. But it is a huge decision for Nick to make, and in the end, he makes the right decision for a cop.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm glad you
Yeah,
pointed that out,
yeah.
Richard, because it shows you it's easy to miss those things. And I personally feel because it's so easy to miss those type of things, I personally feel like this movie does require a few viewings to catch all these things going, because you can easily miss a lot of things going on in this movie because of that. So this definitely requires a minimum of, for me at least, 2-3 viewings to fully grasp everything going on.
Well, it's a great character arc because through the whole movie, he's always taking the easy way out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's thinking of himself through a great deal of it. This is the time where he thinks of someone else, and he does the right thing, and that's I love that. You know, character arcs. Remember those? You know.
Yeah, as
And we
Rob
have
says,
plenty
the
of
days of
them.
great
We have
writing and
plenty of
acting.
them in this
Back
movie.
back when they weren't
Go ahead.
hiring high school dropouts as writers. Yes.
No, that's the beauty of the characters. We had plenty of them, whether it was for Sato, or whether it was Masahiro, or for Charlie Vincent, or for Nick, or for Joyce. Like, they all had their moment to grow in the movie, whether it was for the better or for the worse. We all got to see them have their moment, and they did. Whether it was a bigger part or a smaller part, we actually got to see character arcs. And man, what a feeling with this movie, especially this movie. This movie brought out the tension, the violence, and the cool look of the movie. Like, this was definitely a unique gem that I'm glad people are enjoying to this day, and definitely is getting a light shine on it more so now than it has then. It's great. I'm happy to see that Black Rain has stood the test of time, and like Steven said earlier in the stream, like, the box office is not enough, and they should definitely consider, if a movie lands later on with sales, because sometimes maybe a trailer doesn't look so thrilling when you see it, in the theory. The movie looks okay, but then word of mouth gets around, internet gets around, like, okay, maybe I'll check out this movie. Everyone kept talking about how good it was, and then before you know it, translates into physical sales, or in this case nowadays with digital sales, if you want to factor that in. Yeah, and I could have actually seen this had a sequel. I actually, I don't know if I'd be ready for that now, but if they had done it shortly after this time, I could actually see this be something that could have been followed up on. I personally
think you're
could see
right.
that.
The two cops here could have really done a good job working on something else together now that they trust each other. It could have been good.
Yeah,
it would have worked.
I would like to have seen Masahiro and Nick reunite for some case, and maybe to, for the sequel, have Masahiro come to America. That would have been cool to have seen, like, him come to America. And I like, because not only do they basically part ways here, but you see Masahiro quickly adapt to American culture by their way of acknowledgement towards each other, because we all know that the Japanese, they're known for the bow. You see him now do, what's he do? The traditional handshake that the boys do. You see the handshake, and I always thought that was, I thought that was a very nice touch. It really brought everything full circle, from her being on No's side to his side. I thought this movie really tied all the bows, like, in a nice knot. And even though, despite that, not really having any loose ends hanging out, I still would have been fine. Like, usually, it's a sign that's a win-done movie, but this felt like it could have benefited from that. I could even say maybe even a trilogy, a Black Rain trilogy.
Sorry to interrupt, Nick, but Conklin then gives the traditional goodbye to Kate Capshaw by squeezing her boobs.
That was the director's cut. I missed that one. Yeah.
That was a weird. That kiss between the two was kind of weird, though.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, at least that's all we got. Yeah. And the only one criticism I have of this movie, though, is when you're jumping on, getting out of an airplane, you've got to wait till it takes off and then jump off underneath the landing gear, kind of like Commando. So I was hoping that. Just kidding.
Mark, have you not seen the movie Airplane, where logic doesn't matter?
Right? Yeah.
Come on. You got to think about an airplane. They can do. Oh, I walked into that one, didn't I? I
did. Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yep,
I yield.
Nick. You pushed the elevator doors open and stepped right into the open shaft.
Oh, shaft and all. All right, chat. As you see, this movie starts to get sentimental with its ending. Once you give out your traditional scores, you all know the rules here. It's all familiar faces tonight. Thank you for being here and sticking around and hanging out with us. I want to see those typical scores. You know what to do, and as it starts to get to its final moments, and yes, it's for the kids. Why don't we have our guest, Mr. Deleted Scene, start off with his final thoughts, what scores include on the movie?
Final thoughts. I actually want to bring up that we didn't mention during the show. The actor playing the mob boss is the same actor who starred in Lone Wolf and Cub.
Oh?
Yeah.
Oh, see, a little add-on. I like
Right.
how we're.
And
are you on? You're on the live. You're on the YouTube feed. Could you turn that mic off?
Come on, two Nicks is better than one.
Sorry. Okay, I'll make it quick then. As for the movie, I'll give it an 8.
Okay.
And for toxicity, since there's so much no F's given dialogue in this movie, I'll give toxicity a 7.
Okay. Killer, dude. Killer. And do you feel like you would still recommend this movie overall to this day for people who are like, hey, what's an action movie I may have missed? Steven?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, I give this movie a look. It's a good one. It's solid.
All right. Killer. Thank you. Shout out to Mrs. Flu. How are you doing? Nice to see you here in the chat. And I will go with Mark. Why don't you give us your final thoughts and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so first time watching this movie, I'm like, wait, Nick wants us to watch Purple Rain for Toxic Tuesday. I'm like, what's this movie? Black Rain? I'm like, never heard of it. Totally, didn't do well in the States or box, internationally it did well. But yeah, it's a solid movie. So I give it like an A-, B+. Not a perfect, perfect flick, but it's solid. It's really solid. And it's a couple cliches, but the dialogue is great. I think those one-liners and the comebacks, that they have, and Andy Garcia's Charlie, his translations of what Nick is saying. You've got that fish out of water, but it wasn't too much. Like they didn't overdo it, which I appreciated. It make make the main characters look like idiots either. They showed them how they could actually investigate in Japan, and you had a nice meeting of the cultures at the end, and an understanding there. So yeah, real solid movie. Recommend it. I got to watch it again, like you said. The first time you watch a movie, you miss a lot of things too, and you don't get it's that second viewing where you really get to appreciate a lot of things. But yeah, I definitely recommend this. Is a lot better than a lot of the junk we're getting these days. I mean, I tried to watch that Amazon Ring stuff, and I fell asleep watching the first episode. But yeah, this one holds your interest. It's really well done, and acting's good. It looks great. It's Ridley Scott's great director. So yep, I'd recommend it. Toxic, I didn't think it was too scenes is right. There's a lot of toxic dialogue, but I'd give it like a 4 for toxicity. There's a lot of kick-ass fights, but not like that over in your face toxicity. But yeah, definitely, if you haven't watched it, check this movie out.
All right, killer. Dustin.
Okay, so I think I had seen this movie a few times before. I like the movie. I think it's a good, solid, like end of the 80s type action movie. I mean, not overly action movie, but I think as far as an overall movie score, I'd give it like an 8.5, 9.
Ooh, okay.
And toxicity, I think the toxicity level goes down as the movie goes on. So in the very beginning, you know, you've
I'd
got a
agree with
Kirk Douglas, Michael Douglas, that's very, you know, on edge. He's very assholey, you know, very toxic. And then as he goes along, he learns something along the way. So I think that really goes down. So I think somebody said a 7. I think 7's about right.
Okay, you know, I agree with your assessment on the as it goes on, it goes down. Yeah, you are spot on with that.
I mean, it's a movie I could watch again because I remember watching it when you talked about it. It's a movie you don't like, you know, you don't hear about it very often. And when you said let's watch Black Rain, I'm like, I know I've seen this, but going back into it, I was like, okay, there's a lot of stuff I didn't remember, a lot of things that I mean, it's a good movie, but it's kind of one of those like a little bit forgettable. Maybe not now that I've seen it again, but we'll see.
Okay, killer. Thank you, sir. 70s.
Yeah, this is an interesting movie, and I hadn't seen this for about 35 years. As I say, I'd almost forgotten that it was a Ridley Scott. And yet, to me, it still feels almost like it's Ridley Scott trying to do Tony Scott. You know, it's like
because there's some truth to that.
Yeah, it's him saying to his brother, I can do 80s action movies with electronic soundtracks too, you know, electronic scores too, and a bit of action. And it isn't really an action movie. It's a cop drama with a bit of action in it. And it was certainly interesting to watch it again. I don't think it's that toxic. There's a lot of testosterone in it, though. I guess you could say it was toxic. So I'd probably give it a 6 for toxicity. I think it's a good movie. It's not a great, all-time great movie. And there are a few 80s flourishes in it I don't like the little slow-mo bits when people fall down or whatever. I'd probably give it 7.5 out of 10, I think.
Okay. Killer. Red shirt.
Yeah. I mean, it's a movie with a lot of parts. It has action, so it's not just a police procedural. It has culture clash, so you're actually seeing the different cultures and the different approach of a Japanese versus an American, and they have to and the movie has to reconcile those and still tell a story with characters that in some cases don't speak each other's language, barely understand where each other is coming from. The writing is what holds it together. The movie is really well written. The cinematography is great. It has a very 80s feel to it. I mean, like the riding the motorcycle along silhouetted against a city skyline is just, to me, is just that's something that the 80s did, and we just lost shortly thereafter. But there's a lot of reasons to like this movie. You do need to watch it more than once. It is not a popcorn movie you can just watch and say, oh, yeah, I got it. Watch it again. You'll see more things. You'll understand more things. There's pretty complex motivations for characters. There's subtext going on that is in lots of scenes and in motivations for characters that you need to understand where they're coming from. So there's all sorts of reasons to like this movie and consider it to be, you know, above the run-of-the-mill typical blow things up, shoot people, beat people up action movie. So I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10 for its greatness as a movie. I agree with the chat. It needed more boobs to get a higher toxicity score, so I'm going to give it a 6 for toxicity.
Yeah.
Okay. Killer. Well worded.
Speaking of the chat, I think I do have a rare photograph I want to share of toxic man flu that I found. That just wanted to, because we've never really seen him.
Oh, that's who that was.
So
that's the actor's name. I never knew.
I found Toxic Man Flu here. Which, he's looking quite good there, I think. Really, just
and he can float too. Yeah. So here's that great picture that.
Yes, just keep this on the screen. As I'll talk about. I'm gonna give a 7 actually on the toxicity, because I feel like the first half of that movie of Michael Douglas is Nick Conklin is all in on being a toxic male, all balls to the wall performance. I would have gone higher, but obviously, if you had told me this is the second half of the movie, I would probably give it like honestly like maybe like a 2. But I felt like the first half was really dialed up. Turn it to 11. So overall, though, we'll go with a nice 7. But the greatness is me for me. I give this probably around an 8.6. I mean, a lot of great characters, a lot of memorable characters, a lot of great quotes, a lot of great action, a lot like tense moments, a lot of quiet moments. I feel like all 2 hours of it are worth it. I don't know. It's definitely not a movie I stop and look at my phone to see what's going on Twitter, whatnot. I feel like this movie is held up well, and it's also the look of it, not just by the cinematography, but just how everything looks like from the action playing out. It still looks good to watch, even though like there's some parts where you obviously can tell it's the 80s, but it still holds up by the way the movie looks. So this movie is a big winner in my book. So yeah, 8.6 out of 10 is where I'm gonna be at for the score of this movie. And we're gonna blaze through some scores here. Vince Womack says overall 7.8, Toxicity 7.8, Mass Grave, great movie, 8 out of 10, Toxicity 8 out of 10. Toxic Man Flu, Toxicity is 8 of 10. Film was 8.5. 70s rock fan scrotal razor burns out of 10.
Ouch.
Rob Baltus, Toxicity 6, overall 8. Phantom Outsider says 8 out of 10 for movie, 8 out of 10 Toxicity. Nick had to give him the plates. No way to get him through customs. Yeah, right. Max Redstone 8 out of 10 movie, 6.5 out of 10 for Tox. Shows the dark side of life and criminality in both cultures. Ooh, good thought there. It honors both. Great cop film, great 80s film, great buddy film. I love Hans Zimmer and Ridley Scott. Dude, thank you, Max. That was a hell of a great input. Yeah, there's one other thing you said earlier here. Hail All, Masahiro Matsumara is one of my spirit animals. This is the only movie where I actually like Kate Capshaw being in the movie because she is from Chicago. And yeah, she's a Cubs fan. We'll forgive that. We'll forgive that. Anyways, guys, yes, that is Lack Rain, and shout out and big thanks to Mark D of the Sea for the visuals and the slideshow as always. And
my pleasure,
appreciate
thank you,
it, sir. And shout out to Magic Poop here for this great meme. I do appreciate the shot. I'm sure the panel would agree with that as well. This is an absolutely awesome shot of the panelists for this
Gerry's
movie.
looking good there.
Right. To chat, thank you. Nice steady crowd tonight, and appreciate the comments flying in. I appreciate the super chats as well. Absolutely freaking awesome. Appreciate you, especially for a lesser known movie. Sometimes it could kind of turn away a crowd to see something that they don't recognize that well. But it's nice to see a steady crowd here, even a few people who are not familiar with it. I appreciate that, and for you to taking a chance on us anyway. So next week we'll definitely get into more noticeable territory, and I'm sure some of you remember what we're talking about. And in case you somehow forgot, guys, we're talking Midnight Run next week. That's gonna be huge.
Ooh, that's
Midnight Run, man, classic, absolute classic. If you didn't recognize Black Rain, you should recognize Midnight Run. It's gonna be a fucking blast. So
that's an overlooked movie, I think, too. Don't you think? Or
I don't know.
in some ways, I'm trying to. It was pretty popular when it came, but you don't hear people talking about it as much today. But
maybe time
really
is maybe memory hold it. But I feel like when it came out, like it was definitely something that was known about. But maybe that's just from my set of lenses. Maybe one of you other gentlemen of seniority can, tell me otherwise. I mean, do I have any objections on the panel in the chat to that on the Midnight Run?
No objections.
No objections.
No, great movie.
All right. Well, let's look at it in terms of greatness.
Oh, it's a great movie. That's a great movie.
I'm talking about in terms of the memory hole of was it something else forgotten about? Because I feel like I thought that was pretty well known.
I don't know if anybody would remember it now. When it was on VHS, I watched that movie probably once a week for about a year or two afterward. I love that movie. It's great. you got De Niro being this kind of serious guy, and then you just have Charles Grodin next to him, just
perfect, completely
fucking up his life every way, every direction. It's no matter what. I can understand why they wanted to they were going to cast Robin Williams originally to be that character, but there was a scheduling conflict and they couldn't get him. But Charles Grodin, he's the secret weapon of that movie. He's just, and when we'll go into it more when we get to the movie. I don't want to give away too much now, but it's so much fun. And the comedy in it works, and it's
a crazy run. Yeah,
watching De Niro just slowly lose it and get exasperated through the whole movie. It's.
I think we lost our boy there,
oh,
but
probably the
Toxic
interwebs
says
got
that
him,
70s Rock Fan has the Midnight Run. And Max Redstone for $2 says this document is an insurance policy.
Like, how the hell would they know that?
How would they know?
Yeah, right.
Thank you for the $2, Max Redstone. Man, you guys are killing up the super chats tonight. Thank you seriously so much for them. I do appreciate it. But yes, next week's Midnight Run, we're going to get to the part where we plug in the channels, and we'll start off with our guest, Mr. Steven Otten, Deleted Scenes. Plug in whatever you got coming up.
Okay, well, I do have my channel, Deleted Scenes. I am currently up to 119 subs, so I'm feeling really good about that. I have a review coming up for the Sylvester Stallone film Samaritan. I have an unboxing coming up, secret unboxing. And I'll be around. You'll catch me in the chats for Midnight's Edge, Troy Pacelli. I do karaoke with Jedi Bill, and tonight I'm here, despite the fact that I'm having all of the technical issues that I've been having, and I really do appreciate you bringing me on, Nick. Public, as most of you can tell, public speaking is not exactly my strong suit. It's weird whenever I'm like face to face with somebody, I'm absolutely fine. But when I come on and do a show like this, I tend to. It's like my brain can't catch up with my mouth sometimes. But appreciate you bringing me on, and I really want to shout out Marky with a C. Outstanding editing on the slideshow, as usual.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yep.
Thank you, Stephen, for coming on. Look forward to having you back. All right, having you're the back-to-back guest, so I look forward to next week when we have you on for Midnight Run, dude. All right, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
Thank you. All right,
thank you.
All right, 70s.
Well, I do have a channel, that's 70s Rock Fan, where 98% of the content is videos about my sadomasochistic relationship with toxic man flu. And it's very revealing, and I think everyone should go watch those videos. In fact, you should be forced to go watch them, much as he does with me. But the other 2% of the content is about other more natural things. Just a little video recently about I do a lot of classic science fiction novels and short story reviews, and I was quite pleased with my latest one about By His Bootstraps, little Robert Heinlein time thing, which got a couple of hundred views on, which is a lot for my science fiction videos, but I'm very pleased with them.
Nice.
And I enjoy making them. Yeah, a couple of hundred's brilliant for one of those. And up to 569 subscribers right now, so that's pretty good. Next Monday is going to be fun. My It's Only Talk and Roll is going back to the movies at 2 p.m. Pacific time on Monday, and we're doing The Andromeda Strain, which is the classic hard science fiction 1971 movie directed by Robert Wise, written by Michael Crichton, and about a completely unheard of scenario where a deadly virus threatens the planet. So
That's the
that-
original movie,
original idea, absolutely. And the one in the movie is quite believable, unlike other ones we may have encountered more recently. So please be there for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. The movie streams we do are they're very enjoyable, even if I say so myself. And Joe will be there. He will be on the panel. So,
all right, no.
cheers.
One day I gotta join you for one of those Sundays. One day,
do.
sometime between now and forever, I will. I promise. It will happen. It will happen
hope so,
before
my
the
friend.
Ice Age. All right.
So, my friend.
I want to. I'm just keep in mind. I want to. It's just my Monday afternoons are so slammed. It's hard for me to, like, every time I try to get time. It's like when I do come out, I'm always on super limit time. But one day, all right, and it will be huge. Okay.
I'm holding a warm spot for you, a warm, wet spot just for you.
Warm and wet. All right, good. Well, that's the incentive I need to get a motivation. Thank you, 70s, and thank you for constantly being a part of the show. I know it's obviously time away from your channel and whatever content you can be doing here, so your time here is absolutely valuable.
Oh, I love this, mate. Thanks for making me a part of this. Really, absolutely love it. Cheers.
Oh, the pleasure is mine. ... Physically. And then the pleasure is mine as well. ... Physically from Art to the Sea. I just want to give him some New Haven pizza for his visuals on the
Thank you. Yeah.
slideshows, and just say, big Mark, I'm just gonna treat you out to pizza for a romantic night of pizza and alcohol.
And the missus likes pizza too, so yeah.
Now I have to.
Yeah.
Oh man, now the incentive is higher.
Yeah. That could be end up being a good night, yeah. But thank you for having me on. Yeah, as per usual, it's not Tuesday if it's not toxic, and that was a great movie. One I'm glad I got to watch. I would never maybe heard about that movie, so good call there, Nick. And check out my channel. Eric K, thank you for posting that in there. So and Max Redstone, maybe I'll do a pig roast video, how to cook a whole pig. But normally I'm 3D printing toys, comics. Here's I just got Florida Man in. So I
Nice, fun comic.
That's a toxic comic.
Is that Nick
right?
on the cover?
Yeah, that is Nick on the cover, right? Yeah. So, I'll have to maybe do a review of some Florida Man, but or maybe you guys could talk about it on Friday night.
He's never been near a girl with boobs like that. That can't be Nick.
I'm not saying anything.
The gator's in the way. The gator's keeping him away. But yeah, you should talk about it on your Friday night's comic show.
I actually own that comic.
Yeah. So Thursday I'll be on Clobby's Clubhouse with Cal. We're talking Star Trek Day on Thursday. So go see Wrath of Khan tomorrow, which is one of the most awesome movies. I don't know, would that classify as a toxic movie? I don't know, probably not, but it's one of my favorite all-time movies. So that's in theaters last night, tomorrow night. So I guess I got to try to convince Raquel and Clobby. We're going to maybe play the Star Trek trivia game, maybe on the stream. We're going to see if we do that. But appreciate everyone who subs and follows and subbed all these guys here. Did we get deleted scenes YouTube channel in the chat yet? Because I want to sub.
He did not. I told
him. Look, I was trying to
bowed out.
Okay.
I want to still at least plug his channel in. Steven, if you're listening, thank
put
you
it
for
in.
being here. We'll still plug in your channel for you.
Because I was searching
limited connection.
I'm looking for it.
Yeah, I was looking for deleted scenes on YouTube, but I kept coming all different movies and deleted scenes.
It's fairly broad.
Yeah. Oh, he's back. So hopefully he got it for us. But put that in the private chat there. But yeah, it was a lot of fun tonight, and everyone hope to see you next week for Midnight Run.
All right, killer. Thank you. And Red Shirt.
Yes. Normally I'm on the MF for Cocktail Lounge show on Foulball Productions channel on Fridays, but I'm going to be traveling on Friday. So I'm probably just going to spend the next 6 days begging that 70s rock fan to let me come on the panel for Andromeda Strain after I'm done with work.
No need to beg, sir. I'd love you to be on it.
All right. So I'm looking forward to that. That's a great movie. And it's it's a movie that I've watched. Probably more than most other science fiction movies. So I'm really looking forward to that. You guys should check out that show and if you haven't seen that movie, see if you can find it without having to pay a lot of money to rent for it to watch it first, because it is really something else as a story, and it's really well crafted, and it's a really suspenseful movie because you really don't know what's going to happen until the very end. And it's done in a documentary style, which makes it even more eerie. So that's all I've got going this week. And next week we'll be back, hopefully be back here as well, talking about Midnight Run. So we'll see you then.
Thank you, Red Shirt. Appreciate the time. I know you had a little bit of extra busier night than usual, so you had every right reason to not show up, because I understand life happens. So I appreciate you still doing it even when you can. Like Mark, like Dustin, like 70s, our main boys, Gerry, Tom, like your time is very valuable to me. So very, very, very grateful for it.
My pleasure.
Dustin, my friend, you and the mighty beard and your amazing looking room. Tell us what's going on with your side of the aisle. What's coming up this week?
Let's see. I've been editing the same video for like 3 days. Just can't seem to get it finished. I mean, it started because I got a new computer and I've been getting it set up, and I really hate doing that. It just seems to take forever.
Yep.
But I've been putting out some shorts. So I've also gained like 30 subscribers since last we spoke. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
So there'll be plenty of review videos coming out. We've got like, I don't know, 6 or 7 left that we've filmed that we haven't edited yet, and more recipe videos that I filmed but I haven't edited yet. So be on the lookout for those. It's keto simple. As I said last week, I'm trying to put more recipes out there that are not only keto friendly, but it would appeal to a broader audience as well. So, I mean, everybody loves food. So,
all right,
no arguments there.
Yeah, right. No objection of any kind.
Oh, I wanted to say something too to deleted scenes. You said something about having trouble, and I think you did a great job tonight. So I didn't notice anything different. So just roll with that and have fun with it, man. That's what what we do. I mean, none of us.
That's right. That's all we do. We jump on and have fun.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right, killer. Thank you, Dustin. All right, sir. And once again, like the other guys, absolutely awesome. I can't wait to see what you got rolling out. All right. And of course, as always, we will promote it. And I can't wait to see you hit 10K in a year or two. You're going to do it, by the way. Just so don't you dare question that. It's going to happen. All right. It's going to happen. All right, guys. Once again, thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the constant comments coming and flying. I appreciate it. Once again, a lot of great shows going on tonight, and you chose us. I appreciate that. Thank you, Eric K, for modding as well. Absolutely freaking awesome. And guys, also I realized I have Steven's channel actually plugged. If you look on the caption, click on the caption of the Toxic Tuesday, his channel is right there.
Oh, awesome.
I don't know why I didn't think of that, but it's a little click away. So just go to the caption because I have all these guys' channels plugged there, and you'll see his channels right there. So no mod work even needed. So cut you a break, Eric K. So yes, just go sub to Steven right there, and we'll see him next week. And we'll see you all in the chat next week for Midnight Run. And until then, I have Midnight's Edge After Dark this week, Comic Shop Talk Friday night. And also, I did a review on the new Megadeth album, The Sick, The Dying, and The Dead. That's doing very well. So go check that out. And yes, go hang out at Mag's stream. Good to see she's out and about again. So yeah, go hang out with Mag. She can use it. You can tell her that I sent you to her channel. Yes, and this is deleted scenes right here, guys. So go give Mag some love. She's a super cool lady, and we gotta expand her some subs. And before you know it, she's gonna have some videos roll on. Until then, guys, we'll see you next week for yes, I agree, Massgrave. We'll see you next week for Midnight Run. Goodbye. Good fight. Good night, everybody.
y'all.